but I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. This is the show where we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We do it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And what are those? 7 p.m. Pacific, actually, is when we do it. And what are those things? You know, aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. This show is live. We are streaming on Rockfin, D-Live, YouTube, and Periscope. We are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. If you want to be part of the show tonight, we are taking your phone calls, and you can reach us at this little phone number right here, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You could also join the Discord by going to troubledminds.org. That's the official website, troubledminds.org. The Discord link is fixed. I guess it expired, but I have fixed it with some magic web wizardness, and it is back in action. So if you guys are trying to join the Discord and could not, now you have the Discord link, troubledminds.org. It's right there on top. You absolutely cannot miss it. It's right next to the phone number, and that's what's going on with the show. Please also, Discord is a chat client. It is a voice client. It is a way to share your screen and do some other weird stuff with, the interwebs, right? It's one of those things. If you guys aren't into Discord yet, you should be. All the youngsters are using it to play video games. We use it to do a talk show and to hang out and to have a social club and all the rest of that. So if you haven't joined it, please do. Discord is one program. We have two chat rooms, not just Troubled Minds. We also have the one with Fringe, fringe.fm/chat. We'll give you a direct invite to the Fringe FM Discord. So yeah, please do that. Please support the shows and get in here. Come say hi. And it's probably the best place for me if you're looking for Troubled Minds information, whether it's a show cancellation, which is rare, but it does happen, or what happened with how come we're not on Facebook anymore, or things like this, right? If you want kind of up to the date information, Twitter's a good place to follow. I'll put some stuff up there, but for the most part, most of the information goes straight to Discord. So please join the Discord once again, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link, and there you go. You can also be on the show that way as well. So good stuff. Okay, so tonight I'm looking through the news cycles, and I'm a little bit bored, to be perfectly honest, because, well, the conspiracies, they've all come true, right? I mean, we were talking about all the, pandemic conspiracies way back in January 2020, and, well, they've all come true. So I'm bored. It's like, okay, well, what's next? What do we predict next? Because if you look at Australia and some of these Western countries and some of the things they're doing, the world's starting to look a lot like China. And, well, if you want to kind of quantify it in that, well, I don't know. I just don't think it's a good thing. I just don't think beating people down because they don't have your view on well, you can't even say it. This is how stupid the world has become. You can't even say these things. Back in 2020 in January, we were talking about the conspiracies regarding the pandemic. Well, now, you know what? You can't even say these things on YouTube anymore because, well, you get labeled a terrorist, you get taken down for medical misinformation, this, that, the other thing, and you just can't even do it. And they're even doing this to doctors, like real, actual doctors that treat patients. It's ridiculous. If you mention the wrong treatments or therapeutics, right? It's so dumb. But here we are. This is the world we live in. This is why I like to call it the upside down, because it just doesn't make sense. We're supposed to trust the science, but they don't tell us what that means, right? But that's not what the show's about. I'm just kind of giving you a primer of what led us to this show tonight. Because it's like the news cycles are decently boring, and it's the same stuff. It hasn't changed in since COVID started. It's the same dumb stuff, right? The maskers and the anti-maskers, and they're all, and the whole thing, and back and forth, and 4 masks or 5 masks, or it's exhausting. It's exhausting, and not only that, it doesn't seem like a waste of time to you to just be kind of just whining about this stuff back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You do you worry about you, and, well, isn't that like that? That's the best you can do, right? Like everybody wants to be this little dictator and tell everybody else what to do, and I just don't dig it. It's boring, and it's never going to get anything done. But there you go. There's your division politic. So anyway, I was looking through the news cycles, and like I said, it's all the boring stuff you would expect to see. Joe Biden this, Joe Biden that, blah blah blah, masks not, whatever. But then I did notice something from our good friend John Greenwald Jr. of the Black Vault. And he found some FOIA documents, which is what he does. FOIA is Freedom of Information Act. And what he does is he's filed over 2 million pages worth, and he's got them on his website called theblackvault.com. But he had an interesting tidbit that he released today. And regarding that, he was it's talking about a base on the moon. Yeah, Wikileaks, actually, a base on the moon. And so I saw that, and I was like, okay, hold on. This is interesting, because we did talk about this in brief quite a ways back. We found this in the WikiLeaks cables with the secret moon base. And supposedly, the way this story goes is, we'll just bring it up and we'll start here. So this is why why we're here tonight, because, like I said, the news, we've kind of we kind of slayed it with Monday and Wednesday shows because of all the craziness in the news. But you can't have too much craziness in the news, can you? Because then, well, we're talking about, I don't know, portals opening or something. So that would be what it would really be all about, right? But anyway, so here we go. All right, so this is I'm going to link the actual article I'm looking at here in the Discord and all the chats, and you guys can check out what I'm talking about. But all right, so it goes. This story goes a little something like this. Okay, there was a WikiLeaks release, and let's see. Here's the actual cable itself. Let's see. Let's close that. All right. So here's the WikiLeaks cable. We'll start here, and this is from a ways back, actually. This is from, let's see, supposedly January 24th, 1979 was this file, right? And in this file, it doesn't really have any data. It just kind of has like these headlines and, kind of like a skeleton of what you would expect, because you have to actually go get this stuff through FOIA, right? It's not an official leak. It's just the titles, right? So anyway, this is from the WikiLeaks website directly. I'll put this up on the screen. You guys can see it in full screen here. And the thing is this. It reads, report that UR destroyed secret U.S. moon base. All right. And it's like, wait, what? What are you talking about? And this is, again, January 24th, 1979 is when this was actually dated. This was put through WikiLeaks and made public. When was this? I believe it was back in 2012 for review, a systematic review, December 17th, 2012. Somewhere around there. I don't know the exact date when they put it out, because they leak these things kind of intermittently, right? That's what WikiLeaks does. But you can see it right there on the screen. It says, report that UR destroyed secret U.S. base on moon. And what UR means is, it's got it in here in the little brief. It says that UR is actually the Soviet Union. Okay, let's see. Yep, there we go. Where is it? There it is. Soviet Union, right here. So, okay, so meaning that this is all we have, really. This is all we have to go on. Is this? It's again, it's got a date and it's got the headline, and it says that UR actually means the Soviet Union. Is right here. But the thing is, we're not supposed to have a moon base, are we? Well, isn't that the way this goes? I think that's the way this goes. But it is in WikiLeaks, and it is a headline, and it's dated all the way back to 1979. So you tell me. The question as we begin tonight is do you think there is a base on the moon? Do you think that there's, we're going to talk about the secret space program and some of this other stuff, but how much do you think they're hiding from us? That's the question. We know, it's very clear. All you have to do is spend a little bit of time looking at, actual government, I don't know, not cables, but government communications, right? And you can see basically that there's not really, it doesn't appear to be that there's a base on the moon, okay? If it is, they've kept it super secret and all the rest of that, which is fine. Fine, right? But how deep does this go? We've got stories of not just this, which we'll go through this story tonight. But there's other stories, too, about secret space programs. There is the famed hacker named Gary McKinnon, who supposedly hacked into a NASA database and spent months, if not years, going through the information in there. And he came up with some other secret space information regarding what he dubbed non-terrestrial officers. And he supposedly found some other stuff, right? But I think that's the thing here. When you're looking at some of this, and then how deep does the rabbit hole go? Because then we have this other guy saying that Randy Kramer, the Marines on Mars, if you guys remember that story, right? So that's another secret space program story that, gets run through the mill of the Gaia mill and this mill and then that mill, and now it's going through the Troubled Minds mill. We talked about Gary, what's his name? Not Gary McKinnon. His name is Randy Kramer, Captain K, as it were, which was his pseudonym when he first came out and was a whistleblower. You know what I'm saying? See what I'm doing with the terms? A whistleblower, in quotes. He's a whistleblower. But I don't know. Like, this is the type of thing. So the question on my mind tonight is, how deep does this stuff go? And if it's really just a bunch of hogwash, then what's happening here? Is this like me? I like to not just think about the theories of why this stuff may or may not be out there. How deep do these rabbit holes go? But what if much of this stuff is just basically disinformation, right? It's like a big disinformation campaign. And it's, these people are government agents. And you could even look at the disclosure projects happening now, which is, Lou Elizondo, Tom DeLonge, these guys, right? Chris Mellon, even Anjali, who's going to lead us to an alien base in December, right? Down there in the Southern California desert. So, it seems like these narratives kind of come and go, and unfortunately, many times they don't seem to have any teeth, do they? I think that's part of the problem here, is that we don't get any official documents. If you look at this, it's just the WikiLeaks thing, and it's just really the most tantalizing thing is the title. Report that UR, which is the Soviet Union, destroyed secret U.S. base on moon. And there's a name for this. This is called, this is called a Battle of the Harvest Moon, if you want to look this up. So this is one of those things where, I don't know, like I read it when it first came out, and there was no document to go along with it, okay? However, we'll get to that as we go tonight, but our good buddy John Greenwald Jr., he actually FOIA'd this, and wouldn't you know it, he got the document released. Yep, that's right. Which is why it's in the news cycle, which is what led us here tonight. And that's what I'm saying, is that sometimes, right, WikiLeaks is fine, right? It's fine. I mean, they do their part for government transparency and the rest of this. You know, even if it's the government kicking and screaming and keeping Julian Assange locked in a closet for a decade, it's fine. It's fine, right? But this in particular seems pretty outlandish, doesn't it? That so not only is there a secret moon base, but sometime in 1979, the Soviet Union actually destroyed the U.S. moon base. Seems odd, right? It seems strange to me. Seems like one of those things that is a little too good to be true. Meaning, well, if you like secret space programs, I guess. But okay, so anyway, let's just start the beginning of this story. Oh yes, this story is so good. All right, so here we go. A WikiLeaks document that referred to the destruction of a U.S. moon base sometime in the 1970s has recently gained renewed attention. The document is dated January 24th, 1979. And is titled, Report that UR Destroyed Secret U.S. Base on Moon. It was correspondence involving one or more officials from the U.S. State Department to Samuel L. Devine, a Republican member of the U.S. Congress. The document has tags, Operations General UR equals Soviet Union, which reveals that UR stands for the USSR. The document was marked unclassified, which suggests that the content of the correspondence did not contain classified information and involved open source material widely available at the time. The fact that officials were discussing such a topic raises the question, did the USSR destroy a secret U.S. moon base sometime before January 1979? Now, this is from Exopolitics, and that's Michael Salla fame. Dr. Michael Salla, which way back in the early 2000s when I was like, let's look into some of these conspiracies and see if there's, aliens are out there. Well, one of the first sites that you come onto that kind of makes your eyes pop out of your head is Michael Salla. And, Exopolitics, we've talked about Exopolitics in the past. And this guy claims that there's aliens out there, right? And not only that the aliens are out there, and they've been in some sort of, let's say, union with the people of Earth, with the governments of Earth or something. And so I don't know, and that's what I'm saying here is some of these sources are just sketchy AF. You know what I'm saying? It's like the same kind of people that do the same song and dance and talk about this stuff over and over and over again. You know who they are. I'm not going to mention a bunch of names, but it does seem that these stories seem to kind of just choke out the news cycle from time to time, and it seems, well, like I said, sketchy. It seems a little bit sketchy, right? So what's up, Carry Out says they're hiding all the good stuff. So what do you guys think? Anyway, so that's what's on my mind tonight. That's the question I have. Is there actually a base on the moon? Did the Soviet Union destroy it sometime before January 1979? And what's with this WikiLeaks cable? So we'll get to that. We'll get to the actual document, which was released today by John Greenwald Jr., again, of the Black Vault, like I said. But, how far does this rabbit hole go? Is this one of those, maybe there are bases on the moon? So here's the thing, too. All right, so if you think of it this way, the Apollo missions, and, we've been to the moon, 6 or 8 or 10 times or 12, I don't know, something like that, right? It's like, it's not that many times. We've been to the moon multiple times, supposedly. But, all right, then once we got there, there seemed to be no interest. And so we didn't go back. So we haven't been back to the moon with people in over 50 years, right? And so there's some weirdness to this because Why would you suddenly just ignore the moon as even like a strategic outpost sort of situation? That part doesn't make sense. And, there's been some speculation, of course, that aliens told the astronauts that landed in the Apollo missions not to come back. All right, there's some that old tale of when they landed in the crater and they saw up on the ridge of the crater, there were actual alien ships there already waiting for them. Again, I don't know. Like you have to talk to the astronauts, and the astronauts they weren't spilling information, and so this is where conspiracies come from. Okay, and so why haven't we been back? Why haven't we been back? All right, to the moon. That's one of the main questions on my mind tonight. And not only that, do you think that there is a secret space program in the capacity that they put a base on the moon, or even on Mars for that matter? Because if you listen to Randy Kramer and Captain K and that whole bit, Marines on Mars, he says they've been fighting aliens on Mars for decades. So, like I said, it seems like a bunch of BS to me. It's unfortunate, but it's like the further down the rabbit hole you go, you're just like, what? I mean, really? I mean, come on. But again, there's people that are declaring themselves, quote, whistleblowers, and so that's what's on my mind tonight. What's going on with this? Is it a bunch of BS? Is it not? How far does this rabbit hole go? And do you believe there's an actual secret space program with a base on the moon? Love to hear from you guys tonight. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. If you don't like the long distance, that's a Las Vegas area code. Just go to troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, and you can be on the show that way. It's super easy. Okay, so that's what's going on. And so it is, this is back in the news cycle, so I thought it was a good time to maybe, like I always say, we're going to keep an eye on all this stuff, all right? We keep an eye on all of it because it does eventually at some point come back into the news cycle. And so that's what's on my mind. So we're going to start with this one, the report that the Soviet Union destroyed a secret U.S. base on the moon, dated January 24th, 1979. All right, so that's pretty. I guess the time the time fits, right? So if they stopped going to the moon, maybe in the late 60s, early 70s, supposedly, and then they haven't been there since. But if that's the official story, then maybe they were up there building a moon for the better, or a base on the moon for the better part of the 1970s, right? And so they did it apparently, and then it was destroyed by the Soviet Union. I don't know. You guys tell me. I think that's the deal here. And like I said, and why we're talking about this tonight, it doesn't seem very, let's say, very woo-woo like we normally do, but it is a little bit scratch your head and wonder how much disinformation is really bouncing around out there, and what kind of actual role Wikileaks and outfits like this play in these sorts of things. So yeah, that's what's going on tonight. And I wonder though, right? So we know clearly, we've looked into some of this, there are killer satellites in space. There are, right, that secret shuttle that stays up there for months at a time, the X-37B, I believe it's called. And I think I saw that one night actually out here in Vegas. There was something that was just so far up there, and it was just a tiny, tiny dot. It was a tiny star, and it was moving so fast. And I was like, what is going on up there? I don't think that's like a standard UFO. I think that's right. I think that's probably one of our military things. And that's what came to mind to me was the X-37B. So we know these things exist. We know they're out there. But again, right, so that's the tip of the iceberg for the secret space program, as I would presume, because you can't just know all the things because, well, then nothing's secret, right? I think that's part of it, and that's why we're going to talk about this tonight, because do you believe that there is a secret space program, including maybe a base on the moon, maybe a base on Mars already that we're not being told about, and all the rest of this? And so that's what we're talking about. So once again, if you want to be part of the show, I'd love to hear your take on this. How far do these rabbit holes go? And do you think it's all just a bunch of disinformation, BS, or otherwise? I'm open to all those things. As always, right, I'm not trying to sell you on any of this. If you think it's all hogwash, good for you. If you think it's not, and you think there's something more to it, also good for you. The whole idea is to get together and kind of put our minds in one spot and figure this stuff out, at least the best we can with the limited information we have. So there we go. That is what is on my mind tonight, like I said, and what we're talking about. So if you want to be part of the show, you know the drill. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Did the Soviet Union destroy a base on the moon, a United States base on the moon, prior to 1979? Well, we're going to find out tonight because the documents have been released. Well, at least we'll tell you what the documents say. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. More secret space program, moon bases, Mars, and all the stuff you love to talk about when we get back. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Periscope. And we are broadcasting on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're talking about a secret space program. A Wikileaks cable describes how the USSR destroyed a United States moon base sometime before 1979. What do you think is going on here? How deep does this rabbit hole go? Do you really believe that we have a base on the moon that was destroyed, or do you think we have one now? And that's really what's on my mind tonight. Like I said, we do know we have a secret space program, but how deep does that go? If you guys want to be part of the show tonight, love to hear your take on this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we got some other stuff to get to, so we're going to do that. But I don't know. I think, if you ask me personally, I would say that yes, we definitely have a secret space program. Definitely, without a doubt. However, how far does that go in the clandestine model? How far does it go with not being able to know exactly what's happening? And do we have a base on the moon? I mean, if it was me and I was trying to build a base on the moon that people couldn't find, amateurs with telescopes and things like this, I just put it on the dark side of the moon, right? Like just kind of edge it over just a smidge and then put it right there where, they could do their secret base stuff and, be able to get away with it. And nobody would really know the difference, right? But that would be me. I have no idea. Maybe there are technical challenges, they've said. Bill, what's up? Says maybe this is disinformation. Exactly. I think that's what's going on with a lot of this stuff is... unfortunately, we're dealing with a government that just doesn't tell the truth about hardly anything. And so, unfortunately, we're left kind of trying to pick up the pieces to figure this out. So, anyway, so let's start with this one. So the story goes like this. This is, again, looking here from you guys again, 702-957-1037. What do you think about these actual, this Wikileaks cable that says, report that the USSR destroyed a secret U.S. moon base dated January 24th, 1979. All right. So that right there kind of stands out as what's going on, right? As what is this? And so, let's go to the story. There's the actual story. Hold on. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So this is an actual thread on Above Top Secret. And apparently there's a whole bunch more that goes into this. There's an audio recording and a whole bunch of just weird stuff, right? That seems to maybe lay the foundation of why this may or may not be a real thing. And so here we go. This thread starts like this. I've heard that this is a fictitious story, although it is still very interesting. I do believe there are at least factual elements in this story, right? And so look how long this is. This thread goes down and down and down. Like it's deep. There's a lot of information in here. And interestingly, let's see. It's from the Dr. Better audio letter, BETR, Beater maybe, from Fort Worth, Texas, 76133. And here we go. 20 years ago, on October 4th, 1957, the space age began with the launching of Sputnik 1 by the Soviet Union. Barely 3.5 years later, on May 25th, 1961, President JFK made the thrilling announcement that the United States was launching a program to put a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth before the end of the decade. All right, and so that's what's happening here. This is where this whole story starts. The space race, the Soviets, right, Sputnik, this whole thing. And then, JFK saying, we do these things not because they're easy. We do them because they're hard. Right? Remember the speech? I probably did that poorly, but you know what I mean, right? So the question here is, right, we know all of this stuff. Some people have suggested we didn't actually even go to the moon, things like this. I don't know. What's your take? We have an individual in the chat that even says space isn't real. Or I've heard people say the moon isn't real. What are your thoughts on this, guys? That's what's on my mind tonight. Sorry about the terrible JFK impersonation. He was before my time. I only see archived footage. So anyway, here we go. We got a phone call. Let's go to this call and see what's going on. Welcome to Troubled Minds. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Mike. It's Derek from Mass.
Derek, what's up, my man? How are you?
Devin, brother. I'm going to be really quick.
Okay.
But, really cool show. Really great topic. And I figured I'd bring out the woo-woo a little bit. And
sure.
Maybe try to anticipate maybe some of the space is fake type things and try to weave them both together. So I like to listen to a ton of stuff. And a lot of that, or some of that, is people who don't subscribe into the regular model of space. So I like to try to unify as many of these theories as I can because continuity has to all add up. It all has to make sense together in order for these things to be true. So in my mind, I like the idea that it's less like Star Trek, the secret space program, and more like Stargate. That these off-world admirals and stuff that McKinnon found were actually Stargate troops or whatever, Stargate fleets that are across the cosmos and stuff. And some of the clues to that is to make a long story short, that ley line portal grid thing, the elements you use to put it in the map on Google Earth is the prime meridians, the ecliptic, which is the path of the sun, and the 7 major river deltas. And then the Space Force logo is the meridians, the delta symbol, and the ecliptic. So is the Space Force logo coding secretly portal travel? And then both the Apollo mission and the Artemis mission both use the Stargate Lambda A thing, the A with no line in between it, as the logo for the mission. With it's too long for me to explain how the process would work, but they have a line of a red light line, a blue light line, almost it's like water almost, and it's light and water, which are the two ingredients in this portal travel idea, the concept behind it. So I think in both of our moon missions, that they're encoding portal travel in that too, and I'm not sure. So it would obviously, for anything to be up at space would require a lot of deception amongst the upper echelons. I choose to believe that space is real. I like the idea that space is real. It takes away too much cool stuff if space is not real. But the idea that we can't get to these places with rocket ships, and that NASA and rocketry is kind of a distraction. But the synchronistic dates and all the occultic weirdness that's all meshed into space travel is leading me to believe that they're going places, just not in the way they're saying. And then they give us all this cool sci-fi stuff to kind of take us up track and give us Roddenberry and everybody to give us all this galactic empire type stuff. But it might be it might look a little different,
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Okay, so if I think it would stand to reason if there was a base on the moon, it would be on the dark side, and let's just say there's a portal that takes you there. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
The way the logos kind of make it look as if the moon is a launching pad to go elsewhere. Kind of, it's kind of the way as someone who believes in this grid idea and this formula behind it. It screams to me it's a launching pad. And there's a lot of people who say that the moon isn't actually in space. It's still within what NASA considers to be low Earth orbit, and that even those billionaires and stuff, they didn't go to space. Nobody's going to space regularly. I mean, it's so what we see on these televised events are giant rituals. Space is an altar, but I choose to believe that they are actually going places sometimes, just not the way that they describe it. So I think it's closer to Stargate than it would be to Star Trek. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fair enough.
I'm not sure. It's complicated.
Yeah, it is complicated, and again, people say the moon isn't real. It's Swiss cheese and all this other stuff. Of course, I say that tongue in cheek, but
it might be it might be a plasma. I'll try to find a link. And this is if I was betting money on everything, I would say that space is real, the moon is real, if I had to put money on it. But you know me, I like the weird ideas and stuff. And there is videos of like NASA scientists as far as like 5 years before the moon landing, like maybe the president of NASA. I'll find the video after this, but describing the moon as a plasma, that you can't land on it. It's a plasma, and that will kind of like coincide with the portal idea. In ancient Hindu, they believe the sun and the moon are both portals. But if you can land on the moon, then I definitely think that they have stuff on the moon. If the moon is landable, then they're landing on it and they're doing stuff. 1,000%. Same with the bottom of the ocean. If you can get there, they're doing stuff there. But I just think the way they're getting places is via portal and not via like rocketry and like propulsion like that. You know, I gotta go though. But a really awesome show, Mike.
Appreciate it, man.
Great stuff.
Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate the call. That's Daryl Derek. Daryl. I'm reading the chat. That's Derek in Massachusetts, the Night Stalker. Good stuff as always from him. And I think that's a good way to put this. Maybe is you think in terms of like Tinfoil Timothy. I don't know if he's out there listening, but he's got a great channel on YouTube, Tinfoil Timothy University. He's brought up some points regarding the secret space program and describing it as like, think about it. Like, why would we still be using rockets? 70 years later or whatever, 60 years later, like it doesn't seem to really match up with what's happening. And so this kind of falls into exactly what Derek was describing there, is maybe the secret space program is more Stargate, less Star Trek. I like the way he put that. And I'm open to that. I'm open to the fact that who knows what's really going on here. We've talked about CERN and all that other stuff. Do you think really, honestly, if somebody was able to open a portal somewhere that they would show it to us? You know what I'm saying? Like they'd be like, oh, by the way, check this out, guys. We got this thing. No, I mean, really? Like, of course not. They don't even tell us like basic things, right, from the government. And again, right, this is again back to the whole like government transparency bit that I just it drives me insane that don't get me started on taxes, representation, all the rest of that stuff. I know I'm saying all the keywords that are going to label me a terrorist, but you get my idea here. It's like we don't even get basic stuff, information from the government. But if we're talking about this type of thing and the secret space program and maybe an actual base on the moon, well, something else entirely. I do like the idea there of the moon maybe being a plasma. We've seen those waves kind of wash across video of the moon itself, which I think actually, interestingly enough, I just saw a video with Secure Team 10, Tyler, if you guys remember him, Tyler Glockner, Secure Team 10, and he actually debunked it, right? The waves crossing in front of the moon by saying it was a kind of a jet wash sort of situation when you had like a plane fly and kind of went by, and then you could replicate it by taking a video of the moon, and it was kind of like the heat pattern of the plane as it flew by. You're good, Derek. That great call as always. So basically, it's like this, guys. Do you think? And I think it's a good place to start here, this conversation. Like Derek described, do you think it's actually more Stargate, less Star Trek, if there's a secret space program? Like I said, we know the basics. We know there's an X-37B shuttle up there. It stays for months at a time. What it's doing, who the heck knows? We do know there are killer satellites. China has them. We have them. It was admitted to by one of the Joint Chiefs, I believe. And that's what's going on. So the thought tonight is this. If there's a secret space program, how deep do you think that rabbit hole goes? And I think we got a good start there with the portal theory, and that maybe there's a little bit more going on behind the scenes than they're letting on, which, of course, I have no problem believing that. Just how deep does it go? How deep does it go? So if you want to be part of the show, let's see. Crow777, Lunar Wave is very convincing. Like I said, so of all people, Tyler Glockner of Secure Team has done his best to debunk that, and I think he says you can replicate it by just firing up a video right after a plane flies by, and that'll give you those lunar waves. So again, I don't know, right? As always, it depends on who you ask, and I think that's part of the weirdness of this conversation. So, what do you guys think? We can go there if you want. Is space real? Is the secret space program a thing? Is it more Star Trek or Stargate than Star Trek, as Derek described? Is it something else? And let's get to the rest of this just so you can see where we're headed tonight. But if you want to be part of the show, love to hear from you tonight. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. 1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org and join the Discord. Get in here and say hi. All right, so let's do this. Let's go back to this, the Battle of the Harvest Moon, right? So this is how this all started, and it's deep, right? This goes into like the entire like space race and the whole bit, and I don't know. I don't think we just don't have time to go into all of that. But I think when you start looking at the documents, right? So it starts like this. Like I said, WikiLeaks. This was a cable released by WikiLeaks. Sometime 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. Report that UR, which is the USSR, destroyed secret U.S. base on moon. All right? And so that's the question. Do you believe that this is actually the case, or do you think this is a bunch of BS? So, again, it's called the Harvest Moon Battle, or Battle of the Harvest Moon. And so they say, again, this is Dr. Michael Salla of exopolitics.org. You know, wink, wink, take the source for what it is, and like these guys are very much like ancient astronaut theorists say yes, right? I mean, this is they never saw an alien theory they didn't like, right? So I'm a little bit more discerning than that. I kind of want to be able to look at some of the information, some of the documents, and some of the rest of this. So all right. So here we go. So let's see. Arjun Walla published an article in Collective Evolution that discussed Assange's arrest and examined the controversial WikiLeaks moon base document. Walla discussed it in relation to a host of moon-related information that has been leaked over the years. This included a congressional statement on building a permanent moon base, CIA concern over Soviet plans to build a moon base, Soviet concerns over the U.S. plans to use the moon as a military base of operations, and whistleblowers discussing photographic evidence of moon bases. And so this is all from, these are linked on this page here from, again, exopolitics.org, which is Dr. Michael Salla. So I think that's the thing, right? Do you believe this stuff? I guess that's the first point here is regarding the moon base and the rest of this stuff. Are we up there, right? Is that what's going on right now? And do we believe these sources? I think that's the thing. So I don't know. I do like the idea that Derek threw out there about maybe the moon being a plasma or some of these other ideas. Love to think of it in, again, me, non-linear sort of abstract terms, because you never know. I think the more you kind of expand your mind and apply it to these things, probably the closer you get to the real truth here. But anyway, so this article goes on, blah, 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 and they're corroborating these, bases on the moon. I just don't know. Let's see some photographs, right? I mean, amateurs can bust out telescopes and take pictures of the moon, right? So if I would expect that if there were actual moon bases, we would have compelling footage. And if anybody knows where that's at, just let me know. Drop it in the chat, and we'll look at that as we go tonight. But what's going on, guys? I see everybody out there. Let's see. Yes, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Just cue the narrator, right? Is it possible? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes. And then, oh no, say no, and then the show ends. Exactly, right? Because they have to entertain everything, right? They never saw a alien conspiracy theory they didn't like. But okay, so let's go to this. Now, this is what happened today. This was just released by the blackvault.com. Theblackvault.com, that would be John Greenwald Jr. and his... He's making a name for himself. He has been for quite some time. He's probably one of the most reliable and source-driven media types on the internet regarding UFOs and this whole bit, right? And so he's done. I always describe him as doing God's work out there, because somebody's got to keep keep our feet on the ground, because it's too easy to kind of jump off and go, sure, fine. Michael Salla says there's aliens, so there's aliens, right? And I'm not saying there's not, but I'm just saying their version of what they're trying to tell us seems, sketchy, maybe. Anyway, so here we go. This is again from the blackvault.com. For more than 4 years, a WikiLeaks document within their global intelligence files has sparked much controversy. This record, listed as being from the Department of State Bureau of European and Eurasian Affairs, held the title Report That Destroyed that report that UR destroyed its secret U.S. base on the moon, and that's what we're talking about tonight. And and this says, but no digital copy could be downloaded since an electronic version was not available. And this is when it was released by WikiLeaks. Okay, here we go. Again, John Greenwald Jr. didn't take no for an answer and went to get the actual document itself, not just the headline released in the cable here. So he was able to get the actual document. So good on John Greenwald Jr. And check this out. Since the record was first posted in the WikiLeaks database and discovered by those who perused the site, much speculation has circulated about what it truly meant. However, now that it is revealed, it shows that it was simply a response letter to a 1979 inquiry by then House of Representatives member Samuel Devine, Devine. All right, and here's the actual document, right? So he got the document from his FOIA, and let's read it. Here we go. This is the exact thing, right? Declassified, and this is the exact document for did the USSR destroy a U.S. moon base, all right? So here we go. Here's the actual document. Reading straight from it. January 24th, 1979. Dear Mr. Devine, I have received your inquiry of January 11th regarding the concern of your constituent, Mr. Seed Quentin Arbogast, over a report that the Soviet Union destroyed a secret U.S. base on the moon in 1977, an action reportedly referred to as the Battle of the Harvest Moon. Certainly, Mr. Arbogast's query about Soviet destruction of a secret U.S. moon base is one of the most unique we have received in some time. Please assure him that the United States has never had a secret base on the moon, the Soviet Union has not attacked that celestial body in any way, and there was no Battle of the Harvest Moon. Sincerely, Douglas J. Bennett, Jr., Assistant Secretary for Congressional Relations. Well, there it is, right? There it is, straight from the government. And yeah, exactly. Richard says, where's the redactions? Well, and I think that's the weird part about this, right? It's basically a denial, right? Sure, you should be able to get documents on this stuff and track it down and trust that process. John Greenwald knows what he's doing. He is on the ball with this stuff. However, that reads to me just like it was just a denial, just somebody saying, well, this is not, there is no such thing, this never happened, blah, 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 right? That's kind of what it looks like. So who knows? Again, right, of course, if there was, you think they would say, oh, yeah, by the way, that really happened. I don't think so. I totally don't think so. Their official response would probably be something very much like that. So anyway, let's go to, we're taking your phone calls, talking about the secret space program, and did the USSR destroy a U.S. moon base in 1977? Let's go to Daryl in New York. Welcome to the show, Daryl. How are you?
Oh, great. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, I want to say great show last night. You guys have got to see the research that Michael does for every show. It's remarkable. He's so prepared, and it's unbelievable. He doesn't get to half of it. And just commendations to you.
Thank you. What do you think about the secret space program?
Anyway,
do you think this is a real thing?
Well, about the moon, I wanted to talk about first, you mentioned Crow 77 and the lunar wave. I had the good fortune to see that live. I'm in New York. They brought that movie, the whole movie, to Manhattan, and we got to meet them in a studio really close to where I live on 32nd Street. So that was such a long movie. If that was not real, I sat through a lot of footage that really, I can't tell you how much time that took to put together. So I don't think it was a random, though it looks like it. I think what you said, it kind of looks like that smoky, like when you see heat, when you see a car passing by in a hot weather. It does look like that, what Secure Team said. But I don't know. They put a lot of work into that. So it does, I don't know. I would like to know what everybody else thinks, basically, what they think. Is it real or is it something just a common thing where you see it through a lens or through heat or mirage type of thing, But the other thing I want to mention, Neil Armstrong. When those astronauts, first of all, when everybody's heard that story when they were on the moon and Neil Armstrong, they forgot to turn off the footage or the audio.
Right.
And he said, they're here, they're on the ridge, and they're looking at us. Did you hear that one?
Yes, I've never actually. I've looked for the audio of that. That was supposedly picked up by some ham radio operators here on Earth that's intercepted that. I've never actually found the audio. I am aware of that. So yeah, let's hang tight. Can you want to hang out after the break? We got to take a quick break.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to mute you. I'll come back and get you shortly. We're going to get right back to Neil Armstrong. We're on the phone with Daryl from New York, and we're talking about the secret space program. What do you guys think? This is 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More after the break. We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing that. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are calling random images as they traverse neurons in your brain.
So we got, all right, so maybe
and they also feel them planting or
broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
all right. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you whom we also have troubled minds. This show's live. We're talking about the secret space program tonight. Talking about a Wikileaks cable that actually describes how the USSR destroyed a U.S. moon base. And, of course, our hero, John Greenwald Jr., who actually filed the FOIA request and got the actual document and not just the cable headline. Pretty good stuff. And so the question tonight is this. We are live, by the way, and if you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And the question is this. How deep do you think the rabbit hole goes when it comes to a secret space program? Yeah. Streaming on DLive, Rockfin, YouTube, and Periscope. Broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And we got a phone call. Let's go straight to Daryl. Thank you, Daryl, for being patient with us. And let's do it. Let's go right back to Daryl in New York. Thank you for waiting. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Michael. Okay, so going back to Neil Armstrong, I know they profile these astronauts, but how well prepared would any of us in this room be if we actually went to the moon and actually saw any kind of technology or other beings there? How freaked out would you be? How well prepared do you think they were to see what they saw, if that's what they saw? But the reaction of the astronauts when they got back from that trip wasn't smiles. They were very somber. They weren't all gleeful as you'd expect them to be. And nobody ever heard really a peep out of Neil Armstrong after that. He kept very much like a hermit. He was not that outspoken about his experience. And if they were outspoken, they certainly never spoke about anything like that. They never talked about seeing anything or confirming anyone's, theories. Except that there was a best friend of his spoke up later after I think he died and said that he went to see Neil Armstrong and he was in the dark and he wasn't all friends like they were best friends and he was very aloof. But he said, how would you feel if you knew something that the rest of mankind didn't know, that would be kept a secret, and how messed up that is? He sounded pretty credible, I don't know. That's pretty much what I have to say about Neil Armstrong. But as far as other things I've heard about, some people say that there's technology that we could go in an elevator on Earth and wind up on the moon, and people are been hired to work, on the moon, like that's their job, and they come back home like they cross the street. So that kind of technology supposedly exists, and not only the moon, but on Mars. We go to work on Mars the same way. So if you could buy that, I'm not sure. And also people that work beneath the Earth, the surface of the Earth, that people have jobs underground working on bunkers, and that's a big secret. And how well can you keep a secret? If they pay you like a few $100,000 a year, would you keep a secret? Would you convince somebody to do something they wouldn't want to do? We won't go there, but things like that. That kind of money speaks volumes as far as what people would do and keep a secret. So if so, I think it's a pretty well kept secret.
Yeah, so you mentioned actually just before we had to cut you off there. Sorry about that. That you said that there was some sort of a radio transmission that was picked up, and what was that about? I know I know exactly what you're talking about, but maybe fill that in because I cut you off. You didn't get to finish that thought.
Which one, with Neil Armstrong?
Yeah, they're detected some sort of radio transmission on the moon when they were there, right? Like somebody on Earth picked it up where they said something about...
Oh, yeah. Well, they were listening to us. They were listening to the astronauts speaking about their experience before they landed. And when they landed, before they got out of the shuttle, he said something like, well, they're on the ridge and they're watching us. And they cut that off right after the fact, after he said that. So, apparently they saw something. Apparently, according to the best friend, I think they saw like 3 major, either stations or 3 type of aircrafts that were docked on the moon. And he saw them, and they were watching them landing. But they cut that off. They cut the feed off before anybody got to say anything about it.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so
is that the one you were talking about?
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's something with it with they picked up the ham radio operators here on Earth. Like I said, I haven't actually heard the footage. I've heard the usual suspects say that this happened, but nobody can actually provide the footage that I'm aware of. But that there was some sort of communication they clicked over from the main comms to whatever the backup was to kind of get it offline, because the whole thing was televised, obviously, right? Wink, wink. But
exactly.
But when they clicked over, they said that we're being watched. They're up there on the ridge and something like that, right? They continued the conversation sort of offline. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Exactly. Oh, and not only that, I've seen footage not just of that thing, but of other footage of the moon, and you could see these orbs like flashing really fast. You see them flying by the moon in front of, even up to date. The space shuttle has filmed stuff like that, where you can see there's a lot of activity, not just a little bit, with these orb-like lights, and including the one on the moon. Now, I don't know if those were all teleshopped, photoshopped or what, but it looks like it's pretty busy up there. If, the orbs lead to something more physical, I don't know. Or if they have their own moon orbs. We have our Earth orbs, and can they go from the moon to the Earth? I don't know. But it looks pretty busy up there. Same thing with the sun. If you watch the sun long enough, there's spaceships flying in and out of the sun. And there's been enough footage that it seems to me we're definitely catching some activity, And apparently we have the technology to send some sort of metal object into the sun and out of the sun. It's not that hot, I guess, if they could fly in and out of the sun, though it sounds ridiculous that it's possible. But if you watch any of the footage I've seen, there's been plenty of this stuff. And then people talking about their jobs on the moon, on the bases there. So I'm wondering if the Russians did that, was that a very good idea? If they blew up anything on the other side of the moon, why would they do that? That's kind of stupid.
Yeah, and larger implications. There's some points being made in the chat here that if that happened, it probably would have had an outbreak of nuclear war, right? Like we wouldn't have stood for that. So, again, there's some things that kind of don't make sense. regarding this, but who knows, right? I think that's the thing. That's the nature of disinformation. It appears from John Greenwald Jr. in that FOIA request that they were responding to a constituent. Well, maybe that's the way they did it in the old days. Now, if you try and write a letter to your congressperson or your senator, guess what you get? A form letter. They don't give a damn to send you anything back other than thanks for caring. Yeah. No, screw off. That's what you get nowadays.
You don't need to know. We'll never know. We'll never know.
Exactly. Anything else while we got you on, Daryl?
No, I'm good.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for the call. That's Daryl in New York. Always a great call. Have a great night. Thanks for calling in. And we're taking your phone calls. We're talking about the secret space program. Good stuff there. And I think those are some of those mythologies. Those are some of those things that have been whispered in the dark corners of the internet, right? When people say that there's a sort of a situation where something's happening on the moon. Maybe there is activity up there. Maybe the activity up there is us. And maybe there are actual bases up there that are run by the United States or whoever else, right? So that's the question tonight. We are taking your phone calls if you want to be part of the show. Great stuff from Daryl to kind of kick us off the second hour here. And if you want to be part of it, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can also join the Discord at troubledminds.org. That's the official website. And we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. All right, so there's more here. So let's keep on trucking. So we talked about the moon base and how the Soviets possibly, wink, wink, destroyed it, according to this cable. And we read the letter from John Greenwald Jr., which let's circle back to that real quick. So just to reframe the conversation, there's a WikiLeaks cable that was released that read this. Report that USSR destroyed secret U.S. base on moon. Okay, so there's that. And then there was no actual memo to this. It was just kind of a headline and where this stuff came from. But John Greenwald Jr. of the Black Vault, again, doing God's work, in my opinion, he actually put in a FOIA request to get this particular document to find out what they were talking about. Was there an actual attack on a U.S. moon base from the Soviet Union? But here we go. This is from January 24th, 1979, the actual memo. Dear Mr. Devine, I have received your inquiry of January 11 regarding the concern of your constituent, Mr. Seed Quintin Arbogast, over a report that the Soviet Union destroyed a secret U.S. base on the moon in 1977, an action reportedly referred to as the Battle of the Harvest Moon. Certainly, Mr. Arbogast's query about Soviet destruction of a secret U.S. moon base is one of the most unique we have received in some time. Please assure him that the United States has never had a secret base on the moon. The Soviet Union has not attacked that celestial body in any way, and there was no battle of the Harvest Moon. Sincerely, Douglas J. Bennett Jr., Assistant Secretary for Congressional Relations. And there it is, right? So that's the actual document that kind of spawned all of this and those conspiracy theories about the base on the moon and some of this other stuff. But, right, it's a denial, basically. It didn't happen. But what would you expect from the government, to be honest? Do you think they would imagine that had happened? Do you think they would actually tell us, oh, yeah, by the way, that happened, and thanks for looking into this, right? I expect your vote come November, right? No, hell no. They would never tell us that. And so that's why, again, with the let's say, non-transparency of the government, we end up in this kind of speculation realm here, trying to figure things out. So anyway, what do you guys think about this? And there's more, so we'll get to it. We're going to get to Gary McKinnon in just a moment here as well. But so the question tonight that's on my mind is this: how deep does the secret space program go? Like I said, we already know that there's killer satellites. We already know there's a shuttle that stays up there for months at a time, known as the X-37B. And, clearly that's just the beginning. People have suggested the TR-3B, which we're really not going to get into tonight. But if you want to talk about that, you're more than welcome. We're kind of that open-ended show where you can kind of just jam your idea in here and kind of add it to the conversation. And that's what we do. How do you get to the dark web? Don't ask me. I'm not that guy. All right. So anyway, let's get to Gary McKinnon now. Now this continues. It's not just the Battle of the Harvest Moon. Okay. So we got to the bottom of that. All right. So the bottom of that means that the document actually came out. It was released by John Greenwald Jr. And it looks like to be some sort of denial that the Battle of the Harvest Moon never happened. No, the actual there was no attack on a U.S. base on the moon. It didn't happen because they're saying that, of course, there was no U.S. base on the moon. Let's go to this individual by the name of Gary McKinnon. You guys may have heard of him, and he was born on February 10th, 1966. He's a Scottish systems administrator and hacker who was accused in 2002 of perpetrating the biggest military computer hack of all time. Although McKinnon himself states that he was merely looking for evidence of free energy suppression and a cover-up of UFO activity and other technologies potentially useful to the public. So now this one goes, again, this kind of lays right into the conversation tonight. We've never talked about this guy in particular because just so many other things to talk about. But in terms of this, right, if you look at what Gary McKinnon is said to have done and accomplished, here's a story. This is from fourthkind.com, and it begins a little something like this. It's actually pretty long here. So, prompted by testimony within Stephen Greer's book, The Disclosure Project, McKinnon was drawn to the detailed accounts given by Donna Hare, a photographic expert employed by NASA in the 1970s. Her testimony exposed the existence of a strange protocol within Building 8 of Johnson Space Center to airbrush regularly occurring UFOs from NASA satellite imagery before being made available to the public. And so he got this information from Donna Hare, which we've talked about her before in the past, and how she says that NASA scrubs all the UFOs out of the images and then gives them to us, right? And says, okay, here's the moon, here's Mars, here's whatever, but there's no UFOs in anything. And, I think if you watch some of the NASA live feeds, people write it off as, oh, it's ice in space and things like this, right? Like, come on, guys, get your head out of the clouds. There's no UFOs in space. It's just ice, right? This is what they tell us. But anyway, so here we go. So he was, from the information from Donna Hare, he looked into Building 8 of the Johnson Space Center. Again, Gary McKinnon's a hacker. He broke into a NASA server and was able to actually access some of this information, okay? So he says, with this information, McKinnon dramatically narrowed his search and focused his attention toward the computers within Building 8. Using network commands, he was able to identify what machines belonged to that department and immediately started to snoop through their files. And of course, well, what does that mean? It means he hacked into NASA. It means that if there is a secret space program, that this individual by the name of Gary McKinnon was supposedly in the know. He got this information and tried to get it out to the public, right? Long before WikiLeaks even existed. And so there's a little bit of weirdness to this. So let's see. Let's see what the info is according to this fourthkind.com website. So, quote, the very first one I was on literally had what Donna Hare said. I can't remember if it was filtered and raw, processed and unprocessed, but there were definitely folders whereby there was a transformation in the data taking place between one and the other. And so he's describing the fact that they were scrubbing maybe UFOs or other things out of these NASA images for public release, okay? And so as he continues here, it goes down, right? The difference in time zones had been a perfect cover-up to ensure his search was unnoticed by agency staff, and over a 56K dial-up connection, right? You guys remember those? That sound? Whatever that crazy sound was. The precursor to the much faster modern broadband network. He slowly was able to inspect the relatively massive high-resolution images within Building 8. With remote control of the desktop, he adjusted the color and screen resolution to their lowest settings in an attempt to speed up the process. To his amazement, he discovered evidence of a bizarre craft hovering above Earth's atmosphere. Quote, this is from Gary McKinnon. I was able to briefly see one of these pictures. It was a silvery, cigar-shaped object with geodesic spheres, geodesic, I'm not sure how to say that, on either side. There were no visible seams or riveting. There was no reference to the size of the object, and the picture was taken presumably by a satellite looking down on it. The object didn't look man-made or anything like what we have created. And that actual photograph, by the way, is it's not available. So he wasn't able to actually download it because of the size of the image itself, and 56K modems back in the day were notoriously slow, and it was a super high resolution image. knowledge, right? So this is the type of thing. So we're talking about Gary McKinnon. We're talking about the secret space program. Have you guys heard this story? Like I said, we've never really talked about him on this show, and we've been talking about UFOs for quite some time. And so it makes me wonder, right? Did he actually break into the NASA servers? Or once again, is this some sort of maybe disinformation campaign by the government? It's hard to say because, right, of course, he would have to be in on it. This Gary McKinnon fellow, he swears he's not. They're trying to extradite him, I believe. I don't think they got him back from, is it the UK where he's at? They're trying to get him over here to put him in prison. So they're taking it seriously. However, what kind of information? I'd love to see that photograph of the cigar-shaped silver thing that was hanging in the atmosphere, right? I mean, that's the type of stuff. But it doesn't end there, right? So he basically was describing NASA as covering up the existence of UFOs, all right? Very X-Files type stuff. And so instead, he kept digging. He's like, okay, so I see there's literally like evidence right here in the NASA server that he hacked into. He described a silver cigar-shaped UFO that we just read. That was a straight quote from him in his own words. And then he digs more. So he's like, okay, there's more to this. I'm going to keep going because if they're covering this up, they might be covering more up, right? And he digs in and he continues looking for some things. And there's some interesting things that kind of come out of this hack, this supposed hack, okay? And that's what we're talking about tonight. So if you guys want to be part of the conversation, it goes like this. What's on my mind, and the question is, how deep do you think the secret space program goes? As we know, like I said, we definitely know killer satellites. We definitely know the X-37B. All right, it's that shuttle that stays up there for months at a time. Beyond that, Night Stalker called in and suggested maybe the secret space program is more Stargate, less Star Trek, and maybe they found some way to do some sort of portal technology, and they're just maybe bumping to the backside of the moon, if it's even possible to get over there, right? Things like this. Daryl had a great call and suggested that maybe people have said there's portals coming in and out of the sun, and you see these things kind of bouncing around all the time. So maybe, right? Maybe this is the type of technology that's being hidden from us. Maybe not. I don't know. That's the question tonight. How deep does that rabbit hole go? And do you believe that there's actually a base on the moon? And I see some jokes in the chat. People talking about it's the flat moon theory, right? Things like this. We're open to all of that. If you want to call in and give us a take on the flat moon theory, I'm willing to hear it as well. But that's what's going on. So we're talking about Gary McKinnon tonight. We're talking about this WikiLeaks cable of the actual moon base that was supposedly attacked, U.S. moon base that was supposedly attacked by the Russians back in 1977, known as the Battle of the Harvest Moon. And is this real? I think that's the question. Is how much of this do you think is just a bunch of BS? Is it stuff that gets maybe taken out of context? Or is this legitimate? And does it go way down the rabbit hole about what's really going on up there in space? And that's what's on my mind tonight. So if you want to be part of the show, you know what to do. Give us a call. Let's see. Let's look at the chat for just a sec here. Make sure I'm not missing any fantastic comments. Let's see. Ronald says, during the 1990s, the Soviet Union reported that 12-foot-tall aliens had landed in Russia. They recanted the story soon after. Robert over on Rockfin says, if the military could hide a terrestrial base, Area 51, for example, for decades, surely it could be more easily conceal a base on the moon. And I think that's probably correct, especially regarding the dark side, right? Where it's we have the one side of the moon facing us. If you wanted to hide something, just drop it on the backside of the moon, and like we'd never know. They'd be able to scrub it out of every satellite image they ever fed to us. So it's one way to look at things. I think they could definitely hide it from us if they were willing to try that trick, right? But anyway, and that's what we're talking about. So does NASA actually scrub images and hide maybe moon bases from their satellites or UFOs even? And Gary McKinnon and Donna Hare, they seem to say that's the case. And that's what's on my mind tonight. How deep does the rabbit hole go when you're talking about the secret space program? Looking to hear from you if you want to be part of the show. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More about the secret space program and you when we return. right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Facebook. Oh, sorry, not Facebook. We're streaming on Rockfin. We left Facebook for Rockfin, by the way. We're streaming on Rockfin, D-Live, YouTube, and Periscope. And we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're discussing the secret space program. Gary McKinnon, the Operation Harvest Moon, the Battle of the Harvest Moon, actually. And, of course, we're going to get to Randy Kramer, Marines on Mars. What do you think about the secret space program? Is it a bunch of BS hogwash to maybe fool us with the shiny object, or do you think there's something more to this? That's the conversation. That's what's on my mind tonight. If you want to be part of it, easy peasy. Give us a call. It's 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. Had a few great calls already, and we're looking to hear from you. And so I guess that's the question, right? Do you believe there actually is maybe a base on the moon or a base on Mars already that they're just not telling us? Okay, I'm skeptical, and I'll tell you why. Because it seems to me that if there was actually a base on the moon, that amateur astronomers would have spotted this, right? Because you can buy nice telescopes now, get a nice shot of the moon, but of course that doesn't account for the fact that, well, the backside of the moon is never facing the Earth. So there's that, right? So there's kind of the argument that if there was going to be some sort of secret base up there, it would be on the dark side of the moon, which would be the far side. Okay, so I don't know, like just starting with that, it makes me wonder, right? It kind of makes me wonder about where this heads and how to think about this. But so we were talking about Gary McKinnon when we took the break there, and he's again a notable hacker that they're trying to extradite and bring back to the United States. And he was describing this instance where he hacked into the NASA servers. And this was way back in, let's see. He was looking at photos from NASA in the 1970s and saying that they had different folders for them, where some were pre-edit, post-edit type things, where they were taking out UFOs, that he actually saw a photograph of a UFO in the NASA servers, and he said they were removing them for public consumption. So they would hide the fact that there was a UFO out there, then they'd put the image out without the UFO in it. And so Donna Hare had said this, that she used to work for NASA as well. And Gary McKinnon actually followed up on her work from Building 8, she described as a part of the NASA thing. So here we go. So he says, again, this is a representation, an artist representation. If you guys are looking at the stream here, it's not the actual photograph he saw, because he couldn't actually get the photograph off the server because it was such a huge file. But it looks similar to what you're looking at here. It was some sort of silver cigar-shaped object kind of hovering above the atmosphere here. And he says this: I was able to briefly see one of these pictures. It was a silvery cigar-shaped object with geodesic spheres on either side. There were no visible seams or riveting. There was no reference to the size of the object, and the picture was taken presumably by a satellite looking down on it. The object didn't look man-made or anything like what we have created. And so the question becomes, do we believe Gary McKinnon, the UFO hacker, or is this, again, some sort of disinformation campaign that he's part of? That, of course, just like Daryl described earlier, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars per year would it take to shut you up? And, as well, every person has their price, do they not? And I think that's part of the conversation as well. Even if they threw money at everybody, do you think they'd be able to keep stories like this quiet? I think that's the thing here. Let's see. What's going on, guys? All right. Looking at the chat. Just hanging out, doing our thing. So what do you think? What do you guys think about this? And again, it gets even deeper. It goes into some really wacky stuff when you start thinking about it, including, yep, you guessed it, time travel, including, right, past life type stuff, including, Marines on Mars fighting aliens, which we'll get to in a little bit. But as you know, I'd rather hear from you guys. What do you think about the secret space program? How deep does that rabbit hole go? And do you think Gary McKinnon was onto something? Because not only that, so he found what he described as NASA doctoring photos, all right? He says he found evidence by hacking into the NASA servers of NASA doctoring these photos to keep UFOs out of them. And then he also found a file labeled non-terrestrial officers, all right? Non-terrestrial officers, which means what? Which means, just like it sounds, right? Just like it sounds. Not terrestrial would be on the Earth. non-terrestrial officers would be somewhere else, would they not? And so that's part of the Gary McKinnon story that's still, verified or not. And I think that's part of the problem here. So as far as we're aware, he wasn't able to download a ton of this information, unfortunately, but he is still being sought as a hacker, as like a foreign state. Go get him. So here we go. So he was accused of hacking into 97 United States military and NASA computers over a 13-month period of February 2001 and March 2002 at the house of his girlfriend's aunt in London using the name Solo. How sweet is that? U.S. authorities stated he deleted critical files from operating systems, which shut down the United States Army's Military District of Washington network of 2,000 computers for 24 hours. McKinnon also posted a notice on the military's website, "Your security is crap." There you go. There's the ballsy hacker right there. And so after the September 11th attacks in 2001, he allegedly deleted weapons logs at the Earl Naval Weapons Station, rendering its network of 300 computers inoperable and paralyzing munitions supply deliveries for the U.S. Navy's Atlantic Fleet. McKinnon was also accused of copying data, account files, and passwords onto his own computer. U.S. authorities stated that the cost of tracking and correcting the problems he caused was over $700,000. There you go. So there's the official story of what they said he did, but what he said happened was that that's not what's going on at all. He actually hacked into NASA and found evidence of non-terrestrial officers, found evidence of NASA scrubbing photos, UFO photos, and releasing them after the UFOs themselves were scrubbed. So here we go. So on October 16th, 2012, then Home Secretary Theresa May announced to the House of Commons in the UK that the extradition had been blocked. So they're not allowing Gary McKinnon to be extradited to the U.S. to serve for his hacking. Okay, so there you go. So they're still trying to get him. They still want him. He's a wanted man here in the United States, and they've blocked it in the extradition from the UK. So there it is. And Richard's right. So there must be a reason why they are desperate to get a hold of him. And again, who do you believe, right? And I think this is part of the problem. If we have hackers trying to steal information from the government, there's that, right? There's that. It's probably not the most up and up business you could be in. But then also you have the government in their official statements. And we know for sure 100% government statements are not the most up and up things anyway. So what is the truth here? And that's kind of where this conversation lies, is we're in the middle of all this trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and that's welcome to Troubled Minds. So what are your thoughts on this? How deep does the rabbit hole go with the secret space program, and what again, is it portals? Is it nothing at all? Is it just paperwork? Is it maybe disinformation? I'm open to all these ideas. You let me know, and I'd love to hear from you. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. Let's see, making sure nobody's here in the Discord. We're good. All right, we do have a phone call coming in. We'll take this in just a moment, but I think that's what's going on right now. Is how deep is this? And again, I'm even open to, is space real, or right, things like this. So you guys tell me. Gary McKinnon, again, the Battle of the Harvest Moon. Was there a moon base from the United States that was attacked by the Soviets in 1977? As suggested by a lot of things, by some of these documents. Again, I don't know. You tell me. And as you know, I am not the answers guy. I'm the questions guy. And we talk about why these things kind of get into the zeitgeist, and why, whether this is some sort of mythology or disinformation campaign or a mix of both. And that's really what this is all about. So one more time, if you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. Is the secret space program real? And if so, how deep does that rabbit hole go? Let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. Welcome to the show, Jennifer. How are you, my friend?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Go right ahead. What do you think about this stuff?
Good. I do think, well, it's funny. I'm one of those people for the longest time, like a lot of other people, who got caught up in the idea. And I'm not saying it's true or it's not, because it's hard to say, about space. Was it even what we think it is? Like the fact that it might be water up there, or that it may, there might be more, the flat earth stuff and all of that. I got really into that. And and I'm not saying one way or the other, because I have no idea what the shape or anything like that. But with the moon, specifically with this moon landing stuff, there's a lot of strange information that I uncovered about the moon, all the moon stuff, everything to do with the Apollo landings, and it's really strange, actually. And is that my phone dinging? It might be alerts, I'm sorry. But some things I discovered were that all of the Apollo landings, the dates and the times, were picked by a man named Farouk Elbaz, and him and his father were like Egyptian historians and very into, Egyptian mythology and rituals and ceremonies. And I guess that all of the dates were picked in accordance with that. In fact, the day that they did the Apollo 11 landing, all of the Orion's, well, 3 of the star belts of Orion were all on the horizon. And so they picked that specifically. And people were saying that if they were doing that, they were trying to perhaps do a ritual, it's an Egyptian ritual, to get contact with Osiris and to commune with these ancient gods that are in connection with Orion's belt. And so I thought that was really weird. And then I guess, too, that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin had some, strange religious stuff that they were doing when they were up on the moon. Neil Armstrong admitted that they had done, basically communion, but Buzz Aldrin was a Presbyterian, and he had received, a wine and the bread, and that was the first fluid and food that was consumed on the moon, if they did land on the moon. And he was, I think it was Buzz Aldrin, or maybe it was Neil Armstrong. People could check either way. One of them was a 33-degree Mason of the Scottish Rite Mason, which is different. There's they're all over the world. And they landed 33, it was exactly 33 minutes after they landed that he stepped onto the moon. And so there's more, the Apollo 8 crew, when they were circling, because that was one of the missions where, they went there and orbited the moon. When they did that, they were taking turns reading from Genesis creation accounts. There's all this strange stuff that they're doing with that. And then basically what I'm getting at, and it was done Apollo 8 was done on Christmas Eve. And they read, Apollo 15, they read Psalms 121. And there was all this religious current going on is what I'm saying, which I think is really, really strange. And then the Heaven's Gate group and the Raelians are these, UFO, they literally believe, the Raelians believe that we were created by aliens. Everybody's heard about these different groups who think that, but they're actually these strong religious sects, whole cults that believe this, really. And with Heaven's Gate, everybody's heard about that, but they were expecting some spacecraft to come and get them. There's always been this connection going on with that. So a secret space program, and one thing I wanted to mention, too, with the Soviet Union and the USSR and all of that, in 76 maybe being at odds in some way, it's important to note that the first unmanned spacecraft to land on the moon was from the USSR and was Luna 1. And that only 23 men have landed on the moon, and all of them were American. And in 1971, they exchanged, the scientists and astronauts, I guess a few or a handful of them, exchanged with one another moon dust. So they had a little ceremony where they do that. So there's been all kinds of strange, kind of almost religious sort of connotations to anything to do with these different, the same thing happened with Mars and Carl Sagan. Anyway, so where he put some kind of religious, monument thing or something, I don't know. They're also, they put down an olive leaf and were trying to offer some kind of, they were anticipating, or at least it seems as if they were anticipating that this was going to be bigger, that this is bigger than what we think of it as. For them, it must mean a great deal more on some kind of religious level. If there is a secret space program, I would assume then that it's linked to some kind of secret society like religion as well. And that it might have to deal with Egypt and Osiris. And it's really strange because people have made these connections before. I can't name them right now or anything, but I've heard about they're being, I don't know, it just with the cosmos, not actually just being like a name, a term for the stars and everything, but actually being like a race of beings, not related to UFOs per se, but the ancient cosmos, like almost like a Lovecraftian. We talked about that before, that they were dangerous in a way. So I don't know, but they've clearly done several things that had religious significance to them and like ritual significance. And it's really awkward because I was one of those I've always been like, yeah, well, you know, it's probably, they can't probably go up there. And I guess I looked that up too. And it doesn't matter if it's true or not, because they could be doing these rituals anyway and engaging in this anyhow, whether they actually set foot there or not. Do you see? Because they were doing it forever. Like they've forever been doing moon rituals. They're just involving us in it now. And it's possible that they did go, and it's possible that they didn't. Either way, I don't know. But isn't that odd?
It is odd. It is, and I think once you start talking in terms of ritual like that, it's like you said, you're sort of reaching past just basic. We're going here, we're moving there, we're going to land a rocket on the moon. You're starting to look into who knows, like literally they're trying to open a portal. Who knows what's going on up there? Those are the types of things, like, you know, there are rituals to open portals, you know, and so things like that, like you described, maybe the Lovecraftian old ones. Who is this homage to? Right? And maybe Osiris, as you described. That's the weird stuff. Like when you really dig into some of this stuff, there's some synchronicities that kind of make you shake your head and wonder what really was happening up there. And you illustrated a bunch of that very well. I hadn't even brought that up because we did some of that stuff on the old moon landing show that we did a while back. But it is notable that there's something happening with all of this that, like, what do you think the end is, I guess? If this is like some sort of moon landing ritual, secret space bit, what do you think they're trying to do?
A type of communion with these beings that they've been in contact with. I'm assuming like that we would reference these beings as being like angels, demons, gods, things like that, or like the old ones in Lovecraftian mythologies and mythos. But I think that they're trying to accomplish some kind of communion, and I feel like they're probably not fulfilled by what they're finding here on Earth, and they think that they need to reach out into this abyss, and they're going to really come in contact with what they're hoping to be in touch with by proving themselves if they are doing some kind of space program. So I think they are trying to accomplish a communion of some kind, like, you know, basically. But yeah, it's really odd. And I haven't watched any of your old shows because when I picked up, started watching them. But that's cool. I'll have to check that out and see what you were bringing up in one of the older shows, because I wasn't really interested in it, you know, about like space programs, because like I said, I was kind of a naysayer to the space program concept, like the idea that it's like, well, they're up to something else. And now, clearly they probably are up to something else, but it may be to do with something like they're doing secret rituals and stuff that involve, you know, just doing stuff way up in the upper atmospheres. And so, yeah, I think it's very strange. But
definitely,
as far as what it is, yeah, that's about all I can think of is like they maybe that it's not clear. It's not just for science, because I mean, there's no reason to have a secret space program unless they're just hiding it from other scientists in other countries. There would have to be a secret space program to hide something from us, you know? So, I mean, and it wouldn't need to be secret because, well, I guess it would if they were trying to, but there's no problem there because the Chinese and all these different countries are doing their own space exploration, and they're probably collaborating on a lot of this exploration, you know, efforts, obviously, especially the United States, where we have astronauts from all over the world, you know, scientists from all over the world working on trying to figure out how to manage the issue of space. And now you have all these billionaires really working hard at trying to figure out they just want to be up there really, really bad. And it's really strange, honestly. I mean, yeah. So I don't know. It's probably got some kind of secret. If there's a secret space program, there has to also be a connection. Well, it doesn't have to be. But then I would always lean towards the idea that it's some kind of like some kind of religious faith or something, or like some kind of, an attempt to connect with something, a communion of types with some kind of beings, because it just, everything they do has ritual in it. You'll notice, I mean, all the architecture has ritual in it. All of our laws and all of basically everything has like ritualistic connotations, even our education system. So even with the ways that they pick like the apple for, the computers and everything, and Windows as being like windows of the soul, and everything looks like it has some kind of symbol. Even our calendars, everything, and how they pick dates for when they do what they do. So it seems as if there's something much more important to them going on than just exploring space, which is what it looks like to us. But yeah, there may be a lot more to it with the secret space program, I guess.
I love it. Fantastic.
It is really
stuff.
strange.
It is really strange. We got like a minute or two left. Anything else while we got you on?
Just that. Let me see. Let's see. Yeah, there were like 23, like on the, with the people who landed, they were like, it's very, like I say, it's unusually religious. Like more people on the landing pad, you would expect them to be atheists, but they've been Protestants and Catholics. And I think that's important to note. And not only that though, but the connections with Freemasonry and with the Rosicrucians and all that stuff, which is not important. I'm just saying that there's a religious connotation going on. And with with NASA, people can go on and on with all the different meanings and Saturn and all that stuff. So it is clearly got something to do with, just some kind of ritual connotation. It's really unusual.
Which is creepy. You're the best. You're the best, Jennifer. That's so good. So good. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Have a fantastic night.
Have a great night. Bye.
Thank you. Jennifer, Missouri. Holy smokes. Now check this out. So is the space race not actually what it appears to be? Is it a race to make first contact with Osiris? To make first contact with a Lovecraftian old one? What is going on with this ritual connotation to the space race? To the moon, to Mars, and beyond. And there you go. That's the quality calls we get on Troubled Minds, and that's amazing. Thank you, Jennifer. Such good stuff there. And I don't know. I think given all of the stuff we've thought about and talked about, is if maybe this is a more of a spiritual quest than a quest to find the stars, to discover and explore the stars. You tell me. Seems strange, doesn't it? Seems extremely strange. Everything seems to be done in patterns, in circles, in ritual. And that's what's going on. We're talking about the Secret Space program tonight. Thank you so much. Fantastic calls. As usual, guys, you guys are all the best. We are finishing up here. And as we finish, you guys know the drill. We're going to have a third hour of Troubled Minds on Rockfin, D-Live, YouTube, and Periscope. And if you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. And let's finish. Great call, Jennifer. Holy smokes. Blowing my mind over here. As we finish, be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. All right. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. We are off of Fringe, and we got a third hour of Troubled Minds. Looking to hear from you. I got to take the dog out because she's freaking out. But you guys hear what's going on. Is there some... I hadn't even considered that for tonight, but some of the things she was talking about, I remember from the old Apollo show we did, the moon landing. And yeah, is the space race actually a ritual altar of sorts. Instead, are we trying to contact Lovecraftian old ones? Osiris, maybe? Who knows? Bring Vishnu through a portal? You tell me. Love this stuff. Good. Great conversation. Talking about the secret space program. How deep does this rabbit hole go? And there it is. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. 2-minute break. More Troubled Minds in 2 minutes. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we're talking about the secret space program tonight. And we just had a mind-blowing call from Jennifer in Missouri. And the question becomes this, right? So on my mind tonight is, how deep down the rabbit hole do you think the space program goes? The secret space program. Like we talked about Gary McKinnon hacking into NASA, saying they're covering up UFOs with Donna Hare, Hare, if you guys are interested in looking that name up. But there's more, right? There's more to this. We're going to get to Randy Kramer, Marines on Mars, and it's, you know, that's one of those ones where it's like, okay, all right, well, maybe that's where we're headed here, right? But then Jennifer calls and blows it all up, and meaning this, maybe the exploring space and exploring the stars is not about getting there. It's about maybe leaving Earth itself, or maybe the ritual power is maybe dampened here for some reason. Maybe in space, they're expecting to reach out to, who knows, like I said, Vishnu through a portal, reach out to the Lovecraftian old ones, or as she described, maybe contact Osiris. And this is the thing, right? Like, so much bizarre ritual stuff. We talk about it, not a lot on this show because it's not my expertise, but once you start thinking about the way all that works and fits together, you know, it's kind of like that signs thing, you know? Do you believe things happen for a reason? Or do you think everything is random, right? And I don't know, maybe in this case, we have a situation where random doesn't cut the cake, does it? It seems like maybe in these situations, they're going to space to maybe make contact with something else. And it has nothing to do with us on Earth. It's a new type of space race. Interesting thoughts. Yeah, I have no idea. That's amazing stuff right there. And as Night Stalker said, space is the altar, which very well could be, right? So anyway, looking to hear from you guys. We're in the third hour, so it's going to be commercial free from on here out. And like I said, if you guys are interested, we'll keep taking your calls. If you're not, well, we'll just wind it down and finish just a little bit early because it's a lot for me to talk. So we're looking to talk to you. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Go to troubledminds.org and click the Discord link, and you get a direct invite, and hop in here and come say hi. Let's see. Let's go to the chat. Yeah, that's what I like about the third hour. We can, a little less stress, no time frames, and we can just kind of do our thing. What's up, Tam Bam? Says Jennifer is always such a fascinating caller. Brilliant. I agree 100%. Good stuff. What's going on? Let's see. Ronald's here. What's up? Joe in Florida says, belief is power. They probably padded their chances with all those rituals. And I think that's the bizarre part about all of it, right? If you're talking about, again, if the space race isn't about getting to Mars per se, but it's about maybe being the first one to reach out to a cosmic entity of sorts, whether that's going to be a deity or otherwise, it becomes creepy, doesn't it? I think it becomes creepy. So yeah, what's going on with this? And looking to hear from you guys. And we can get to Randy Kramer, Marines on Mars, but I think some of this other stuff is a lot more fascinating. You tell me if you want to be part of the show. 702-957-1037. Let's read some of the chat on YouTube. Here we go. Let's see. This is it. Let's see. Derek says Egypt, like in Stargate. Yeah, you guys seen Stargate SG-1? I'm starting to watch it. I got through the first season, and it starts out kind of cringe. It's really bad in the first few episodes, and I was like, why do people like this? But then, right, it starts to pick up. They start putting the cringy stuff away, and there's a whole lot of connections there in Stargate SG-1 with like the Egyptian pantheon. Apophis in particular is the main antagonist of the show there, and it starts to become strange. Let's see. Okay, so Babylon Workings. Jack Parsons was a rocket scientist. A rocket portal weirdness, says Night Stalker. Jay says, I think the Stargate is the only way that makes sense. Who has the time to do it? Star Trek way. Well, I think exactly. If you're talking about space travel, it doesn't make sense mathematically, does it? Let's see. Carry Out says, what if the three ship was under the three stars and the tall one they saw was the Egyptian god Osiris? Right. That's what we're talking about. Let's see what else. Night Stalker adds, and Roddenberry got all his info from channeling aliens in a seance. Oh snap! That's not good. Who knows what kind of agenda they had? And weird. I think that's the weird part about some of this space stuff is that you don't really know what they're after, do you? Is it really just a colony on Mars is what we're chasing? Or is it like the first one to get up there so they can do some sort of ritual at the altar on Cydonia, right? And not tell anybody. I think that's the weirdness. Carry Out says, I love Egyptian mythology. I have all kinds of Egyptian artifacts. Right on. Let's see. What else do we got? Richard says humans have moved too far, might be trying to close us down, hence the woke agenda. Oh boy. Yeah, Masonic stuff, exactly. Some Masonic things happening. What's up, Promethean Reckoning? I see you there. Who else? What else are we doing? Looking to hear from you guys. 702-957-1037. Hop on in, give us a call, and join the Discord, troubledminds.org. Let's see. Let's see, what else? What else do we got? Angel Wings, how you doing? Says, I wouldn't know. I got suspended for 3 days. You're talking about what, Facebook? Or what do you mean? Let's see. What else do we got? Just reading the chat, catching up, and the altar, the Masonic altar, says Jay, maybe, right? What's up, Les? How you doing? Thanks for being here. Let's see. Creating an alignment. Oh, geez. Okay. All right. Yeah, maybe. And I think, as always, right, we're drinking a hefty dose of the maybe juice here and considering all the things. And like I said, Jennifer's blowing my mind here with some of these, the synchronicities with the ritual synchronicities that it seems to be that maybe the space itself is not what we think, and maybe it is like the way to connect with whatever entities may be out there. And again, I love the idea of the Lovecraftian old ones and the rest of that stuff. So those ideas right there, man, man. You read Lovecraft, and if you don't get a shiver in your spine, you're not doing it right. That guy could rip up some writing. But okay, so we're talking about the secret space program tonight. Like I said, how deep does that rabbit hole go? I think we got pretty far down there, which is amazing. But there's still time. We got time for you. So what are your thoughts on this? And what's up, Kelly? I see you over there on Rockfin. What's going on, guys? Hello. Testing 1 2. I'm sure you can hear me. I'm sure people can hear me out there. I do have a live microphone plugged into the internet, after all. What's up, Promethean Reckoning? Yeah. Angel Wing says I was talking about work. Finally, okay, it got back in tomorrow. Oh, cool. Right on. Sweet. Okay. Angel Wing says they got portals in Wisdells in Wisconsin. Is that what you mean? I have yet to actually look. I should. Yeah, I mean, anybody seen Stargate SG-1? Interestingly, right, where it's not space, right? The portal, the Stargate itself is underground. And if it's underground and they're going to all these different worlds, well, you don't need rockets at all, do you? So I wonder. That kind of makes you wonder, right? Makes you raise an eyebrow. Okay, so again, looking to hear from you. We got Rohan we're going to go to, 702-957-1037, talking about the secret space program tonight. And we got our minds blown by Jennifer and some ritual connection here with maybe space itself. And let's go to Rohan, our good buddy Rohan. Whenever you're ready, my good sir. Hello. He's on a delay, so you guys know how it is with the Discord. That lousy streaming delay of 1 minute or so.
Hiya, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
So I forgot to unmute myself on Discord as well. So, whoops, that was me.
All good. I'm sure you heard that call from Jennifer. What do you think, man? What do you think about this stuff? Is space as we describe it, as we think about it, or is this something else entirely? I think that's the crazy.
Oh, we're going straight in on that one, are we? Oh, well, the biggie. Right. Well, yeah, I did hear Jennifer's call, and I remember that there was this firstly, if I can just jump back to the portal-y idea, because we're there. Sure. This idea to jump into other places like those jump rooms. I've heard quite a few stuff about that. So, and I've heard a rumor only one time about where some military pilots have got this like secret navigation information where they know where this portal is in the sky, and they can use them as like little slipstreams for emergencies if they need to get to like the other side of the world, so they can get there a bit faster. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think there's that sort of thing, and this thing of like getting to other planets. It's not realistic to go the way it shows you in Star Trek. It's just not. You can't go at light speed and stuff, and you wouldn't be able to communicate really going out beyond light speed, because what do you use to communicate with? Nothing's fast enough. So I think jump into places and portal into places, that's the way. It's the only way you could probably do it realistically. And this idea that, heaven is the sky and that sort of thing, above the atmosphere, I think that's perhaps more what it is. That space is a kind of construct. And I liked how you said it's perhaps an interfacing thing. That's where you can get into contact with other stuff. And I think it's perhaps more like that. And I remember Dr. Richard Alameda said that space is a construct. And getting to Mars, we'll get there all we can, but it will be teleporting there. So I think, it's more like that, I reckon.
Yeah, and so what are they trying to contact?
Well, this is the big thing. Well, you say somebody mentioned alignments, and I thought, well, get this. What if there's several bases up there making a shape of something? And what if that links up with CERN? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that would be your Stargate, right? That would be the whole thing. That would be exactly.
Yeah, maybe it's a power thing. Maybe one of them's like perhaps one's like can open the portal, so maybe that's CERN, and maybe somehow you can use the moon. You're picking the destination where you're going to let something in from. Or something like that. 'Cause I reckon CERN, especially because of the ritual they did, and they opened that world's longest tunnel, like the Gothenburg Tunnel, or whatever it's called, and they had that weird ritualistic ceremony that was really long. You remember that, don't you? And at the end, it showed you a big portal on those screens. And, so it looks like they're bringing something in it. And I always remember one of Alex Jones's montage strings. And it was saying, they're cold calling like strangers using medically induced near-death experiences, meditation, psychedelics, high technology, trying to open up a portal, cold calling entities to get information, and they're going, build this, build that, let us in, let us in.
Let us in.
You know what I mean?
Let us in. Oh shit! And right. I think that's the thing. So how about that? Maybe we were contacted back in the 50s or whatever. Let's say after Roswell, by something that told us we needed to contact them by actually moving to the altar that is space. Weird man. Let us in. Let us in.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe the government's all been tricked about what space is, and maybe aliens are going, oh yeah, we fly around in these saucers and we go to planets, and they've gone, oh yeah, okay. So they start going up there to make like deals with them, and it turns out it's a spirit world, you know. And now we've connected to it, and we're like, oh.
Yeah, right. And then then what? So what's the next step? I guess what would be the next step? You just usher in the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and it's a wrap in New York. Is that what happens? Right?
Well, this is the thing. I think our way of making a gigantic the trap to pull in all the ectoplasm, I think our way is doing this, trying to find out stuff and getting knowledge, and just at least being prepared. Because at least if you know stuff and freaky things happen, you're going to be like, you're less likely to freak out. You think clearly. So if an emergency happens and you think clearly, you're a lot more likely to have a decent go of it, aren't you? And I think I don't know, and like that's my solution is to just find out as much as you can and just do your best with it. And at least power it's if you got knowledge is power, so at least we've got that. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, hard to say with that next step. And again, right? So imagine like it's been said, the Godhead or whatever entities out there, right? Whatever, like some people have even suggested the universe itself is conscious, and so maybe that's how you communicate with the universe itself, including right, whatever entity is kind of running the joint, And so whether you want to call that a god or a this or that or a Lovecraftian old one or whatever it happens to be, maybe that's the way to maybe connect directly. We don't have the interference of the earth and the atmosphere and this whole bit. And maybe, like I said, opening up my mind to some crazy possibilities here of what's going on. Lily says it's a mirage of the jinn, and there we go. There's another good take. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Perhaps. Perhaps that's what I was trying to get to. Perhaps if it's like another dimension, like a spirit dimension or whatever, just above us. Yeah, I think perhaps that is the way that you sort of arm yourself in a way. Do you know what I mean? Go and learn about it. Much the same as how Robert Monroe talks about when he ended up having his out-of-body experiences. He just had to kind of learn about it, find out through trial and error. But then he knew kind of what to do with it, and then you can sort of navigate it a bit better. And I think that's probably what it is. And you can also think of it as like, well, it's just going into a new future. There's going to be a new kind of normal sort of thing, but it's not going to be, the new normal. It'll be more than the new normal of like, we're going to live things in a different way. Our reality is changing,
Right. The great reset, as it were, is it's Shiva coming through the portal.
Yeah. It's got Carly with her as well, so watch it.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think interestingly, right, us mere mortals, these are the types of concepts that really we have no idea about. If there is a way to maybe have some sort of ritual connection, maybe it does have to be done at a particular place at a particular time on Mars, for instance, right? Like who the hell knows? And maybe that's what this race is all about.
Well, I had a fun thought, Mike, that you might like, and it's really cute as well because it's about rabbits.
All right.
You want to hear?
Hell yeah! Let's hear about the bunnies.
Okay, let's hear about some bunnies. It occurred to me thinking about destroying a Russian base, right? And I thought, well, that's interesting. It got my head ticking. It got the cogs ticking. There was that kind of spoofed comedy show called Space Force, wasn't there, on the TV recently? I think it was on Amazon.
It was. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like showing you the space race from a comedy angle, right? And they are doing that Russian base, American base thing, aren't they? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
They've got that thing going on.
Yeah, like right. That's the fight. Exactly. like a 1977.
Trying to outdo each other, right? So maybe things like that happen. I think I've seen a film where there's that, and then it finds this random Russians not supposed to be there, or maybe it's that, I'm getting confused. But yeah, so attacking a Russian base, and that's there. But maybe that's the kind of, that show coming out is kind of harking back to that, except it's because it's happening again, but it's not Russia. Right? Maybe it's China, and only because when you said the title, "The Battle of the Harvest Moon," immediately a song came in my head, "The Killing Moon," right, by Echo and the Bunnymen. But the Bunnymen is the Chinese space program, isn't it? Because they got the Jade rover, and when you look at the moon, you're seeing a man in the moon from the northern hemisphere, but in the southern hemisphere, it's the rabbit in the moon. It's upside down. Do you know what I'm saying? And then I thought to myself, hang on a minute, well, China seems to be taking over the world at the minute on Earth, and they're in the space thing, so perhaps they've got the moon as well, and it's the Harvest Moon. Maybe that's where the resources are, you know, for the future. Yeah. And I thought, it's just a shocking thought, Mike.
Yeah. I mean, this is where we're at, right? Like, we end up, do we have just overactive imaginations? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
it's a rabbit warren,
right. But maybe not. Maybe this is exactly what's going on around us. I mean, Ryan Gable covers the hell out of the ritual elements of the weirdness right, with all this stuff. And it's like I said, a lot of that stuff is over my head. But once you start looking into some of the synchronicities in this, I don't know. I don't know there's a coincidence, right? Again, like, what kind of person are you? Do you believe that things happen for a reason, or do you believe that things can just be coincidence?
Well, the thing is, it's like a good point you're mentioning with the symbolism and the religious stuff and that. I think at this point, if you look into this stuff, if you look into it for a few years, you don't even have to know about symbolism to realize it's clearly important to people like NASA and people and politicians. And if, you know what I'm saying? You don't mean to necessarily have a handle on all the occult stuff to say that these people are doing this symbolism stuff all day long, and the ancients used to do the astronomy, zodiac stuff all day long. So these magic seems to be integral to all of it. So whether you believe it or not, these people believe in it. So it either properly works, and that's what reality is based on, or it's ludicrous stuff. And so our world leaders are all doing ludicrous things, woo-woo stuff.
Right.
You know?
Which, would that surprise you? To be perfectly
which one's more scary though? Which one's more scary, Mike?
Yeah, that's true. That's entirely true. So are they just doing ridiculous stuff, which again wouldn't shock me, but even worse, what if this ritual stuff is real and they're actually out there trying to do what? Here it is, like
voodoo.
Right, voodoo in space. This is a little meme from Night Stalker. When you accidentally crack open an old one instead of a cold one. I think that's maybe what.
That classic.
Yeah. I don't know, and I think just looking at space in general, right? It's really the unknown. It's, you know, we talk about like places on Earth that we still haven't really discovered, and space being that unknown, that step of, have we ever actually done a Masonic ritual in space, right? Meaning, right, like in different places, or, you know, like how would you know if you don't go and try these things? But I think that's the scariest part. Like you said, if this is real, what are they trying to do? What are they trying to bring in? What are they trying to contact? And that becomes like the most horrifying part of this. Is sometimes maybe it's like Carl Sagan said, is you don't, you know, maybe you shouldn't be reaching out to entities that may not have your best interest at heart, right? Like telling everybody we're here is probably a bad idea. Stephen Hawking said that. Carl Sagan said that. Yeah. So, but here we are.
And it's the reason, and that's the reason why I lost faith. And sort of me personally, I started to get suspicious about Stephen Gray, because he's been adamant that all aliens were nice. And I thought, how can you possibly know that? I don't know how you can make that statement, because the universe is a pretty big place, and we're talking other universes, aren't we, potentially? And how do you know? Yeah,
that's a good question. I really have no idea. And when you do, I know, and there's a lot of things here at play, right? That we've talked about the archons in this show quite a bit. Like, who knows what you're reaching out to? And it's a good point with Stephen Greer, by the way, because what the hell is he summoning? Right? He's out there.
Yeah.
Right? What the hell is he summoning? It's definitely like ritual meditation, something or other going on with Stephen Greer, and he's bringing things in from space.
Yeah, well, the thing is this magic's, I'll go back to it, it's been going a long time, right? And this magic stuff, people do it, don't they? There's these, like, old practitioners and stuff, and that Golden Dawn, and there's all these things in there, and there's books, and they've been going a long time, and there's some of these rituals that take a week to do. And you got to do, there's a film about it called, about a famous one, I can't remember what it's called, but the ritual, but it's a famous ritual, and it says a film called A Dark Song. That's about where somebody wants to do this ritual, and she said, she wants to speak to a child that died, and because if you do this ritual after a week, if you get through it, you're supposed to be able to speak to an angel, like for real, and ask it something. Do you know what I'm saying? So you have to go through a lot. Do you know what I'm saying? You want to watch that film? It's crazy the stuff you have to do, and it's like. You got to get it right, and there's a scene where they're in the living room and they're saying it's on now. You can't leave. They put salt all the way around the house, so you got to finish it. It's impossible for us to leave if we don't. Do you know what I mean? Because you're like stuck in a time loop, sort of there forever, and you're in a little pocket. So they've got to finish it, and there's like a knocking at the door, and there's like she knows not to open it because it's like demons. There's this test of demons that come to you before you can see the angel, and it's like a little kid on the other side of the door asking for help to try and encourage you to open the door, and you have to resist and make sure you don't. And it shows you one scene where they're on one side of the room and they're suddenly like they think they hear something, and on the other side of the room in the dark in the armchair you can see someone smoking a cigarette that just appears, and you can't see him, but it's a demon, because that's the test. Demons keep coming to try and trick you to do something or open the door. And it's like, what if that actually happens then, and you do it, and you're only the third day in, and you can't stop doing it, and you can't break the salt circle because you'll be trapped in a loop forever, not be able to leave the town, just ended up back at their house, you'd be there. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be committed to these things. So it's like, do you know what I'm saying? That's what the accounts of people that do it say. So it's like maybe the if they are doing these ritualistic things and they've done some magic stuff, maybe they can't not finish it. Maybe it's impossible to not finish it. Do you know what I mean? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Yeah. So maybe that certain process has to happen.
Like you're stuck in it. You begin, you have to finish. And what begins or what ends it, right? That's the craziest part. Night Stalker adds in the chat here, the Order of the Nine Angels cult is trying to open portals to Lovecraftian old ones, and they think their destiny is in space. They call themselves Homo Galactus, a new evolutionary branch. And there's more, but thoughts on that?
Yeah, block him. Block Derek. Block him. I can't take it.
Oh, yes. And then he adds, and Marvel just retconned Hydra's plan and deity as literally a Lovecraftian old one from Beyond the Stars like a month ago on Disney Plus. I haven't watched Disney Plus. I got Disney Plus the first when it first came out to watch Mandalorian, and then after that they've like tripled the price. Like, what the hell's going on? But anyway, yeah, so I haven't watched any of that Disney Plus stuff in a while. But yeah, holy smokes, man. Like, and I think this is the weirdness of why we kind of get together and talk about this stuff, because you never know what kind of like way the conversation is going to turn, right? Let's see. Kelly says there's way too much evidence of deep space objects, and all these rocket launches are not all satellites. They are resupplying the spaceships. Yeah, exactly. If you want to talk about that too, you know where to go, Kelly. You're welcome with that. So I don't know. Like, what do you think, Rohan, with just a secret space program regarding? Is there that base on the moon, or do you think this is just a bunch of rubbish?
Well, I always have to think about this, like space being a construct, like a magic place, and space being real. And then something occurred to me about the atmosphere, okay? Because if you remember, they detected atmosphere around the moon, and then they said, the Earth's atmosphere must go out a lot further than we thought, right? And we all said, oh, yeah, whatever, just saying that, because, but maybe that's true. Right, and maybe it goes out a lot further than we realise. And I'm saying that, just bear this in mind, maybe it goes out a lot further than we think. Okay, so just bear that in mind, all right? I'm pretty sure Tom Bearden, the physicist, I think he was at Caltech, MIT or something. Tom Bearden, I'm pretty sure he said, someone caught him an interview in his car, just getting out of his car, and he sat there for a bit, and he said that when you get out of the atmosphere, you can't really see things because there's no matter immediately around you for light to reflect off, so it kind of blinds you. So it's really hard to navigate out there. You don't really know. So going into deep space then is kind of tough. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure of Victor Schulberg, who was into fluid dynamics and water and stuff, and he invented the implosion engine instead of exploding things. And he used to be into vortexes in water, as in looking at natural vortexes appearing with spinning water, depending on rock shapes and the shape of fish. And our salmon, they don't jump. They get into a perfect sweet spot with the flow of water coming against them, and because of the shape of them, it creates a kind of backswell and a kind of vortex around them and sucks them forward. Do you know what I mean? Like using the dynamics. So I'm just thinking maybe space and doing rockets and that stuff is absolutely real, but you confine within the atmosphere, and anywhere out of that, we'll probably need a different kind of technology to go to other planets beyond like the moon. Maybe we need a different type of technology because we just can't really see anything, and because of the vast distances as well. So maybe it's both. Maybe you need teleportation or some kind of really advanced craft to get to other planets, but we can use rockets and things like that, the conventional things and chemical stuff, just within the atmosphere because it's not as far, and you've still got that little thin bit of matter to reflect off, so you can see. You understand?
Right. Yeah. And again, that's why we do this and get together and talk about all the weirdness, because maybe, right? Maybe juice. I'm down to drink the maybe juice here. We got Kelly in here too. Rohan, you're welcome to stay. You know that. Kelly,
cool,
what's up, my man? Whenever you're ready, my friend. We got tons of good stuff in the chat, guys. This is what I'm saying, right? You get together and you get some people talking about some interesting things, and this is what we get, right? Kind of a little bit of mix of everything. What's up, Kelly? Welcome to the show. How are you, dude?
Hey, man, how's it going, guys?
Good. Go right ahead, man. You want to bring us back to the real world for a sec, or it's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, all right. There's there's plenty of videos out there. We talked about this on an older show, but like I've shared videos of this guy. He's a amateur astronomer. I can't remember his name right now, but there's plenty of videos where it shows him, finding these deep space objects. They're kind of like in synchronization with different star clusters or like the Big Dipper or the Orion's Belt. But he knows where the exact locations of the things, because they kind of look like, just part of the night stars, But so when he was zero in on them, he's found these ships. And they're huge. They're enormous. They're not small by any means. And it's weird because while he was filming it, it shows him like almost like transforming. They're expanding and then closing back up, and like really fast speed times. While he's filming this. But also you have that. You also had other evidence with like that guy that broke into. I don't know his name either right now, but. He's the one that broke into the NSA, and he found like, Gary McKinnon is this who it was. Yeah, he's the one who found like he broke into NASA, and that's when they were talking about like I don't know, like generals from space or whatnot, like non-celestial officers or whatever, how they put it. And you put those two together, and I also think of like all these rocket launches that's been going on for decades now. They're always saying that it's a, just like everything else. There's if you see UFOs, the government was what? It was a phenomenon with the atmosphere. And everything they're launching is either like like these secret payloads. They try to say that it's a weather satellite or whatnot. Now, all these so-called satellite launches, I don't believe that they're satellite launches. In my mind, is that there is a secret space program, and that was actually evident with von Braun, and where he got together with all those people, with all those multi-billionaires back then or millionaires back then, where they were. I believe they probably did. I mean, they have the money. They just like now. They don't have these companies. These multi-billionaires don't even need. They got enough money to do whatever they want. With science and space. Because they can hire these scientists or whatnot, and have their own laboratories and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And they don't need to tell anybody. They don't have regulations like the government. Yeah, they to launch stuff out in space. Yeah, they're gonna have to have some kind of a regulation with them. But for me, you look at even when the space shuttle, when that program went down, they were still launching, and it was not just only United States. It's multiple countries that are, I believe, they're feeding or resupplying some of these spacecraft or whatever they have up there, in these, deep space, because there's no way that it's all satellites. I mean, to me, that's ridiculous. And there's also a thing that I ran across where it's, not to get off too much subject, but there's a theory, I don't know if anybody else is like, there was a guy came out with a theory that there is no satellites in space. That if there was satellites in space, you wouldn't have all these, technical problems with like cell phones. You would never have dead spots. You should be able to get a phone call anywhere on this planet if there's so many satellites up there in space. He believes that, like, just like even this 5G, for example, they have everywhere you got to have is like what, a tower every 10 homes or every, so many 100 feet, you got to have a tower. That he's just saying that all these phones that are all like on the planet, it's all done through repeaters, through radar, like radar repeaters, and that's how, and that's why you don't, after these repeaters, they don't, like if you're going out in the desert, like parts of Vegas or whatnot, or even the mountains, you don't get any cell phone. Why is that? You should be able to get service anywhere, which is kind of an interesting theory that he has, because it kind of makes sense. It doesn't really, there's no really satellite systems unless you have like the sat phones now that the military use. But even then, sometimes why would we have to have all these repeater towers? I mean, if everything is a satellite. But yeah, just the saying, I don't know if I would say a moon base, but I would think that, if we did go to the moon with all these, astronauts saying that they said that they had they could see the spaceships on the edge of the crater and they were watching us while we were on there. I mean, depends how you want to go with that, if we didn't ever went or we did, but let's say we did, and I think that's their base, that they were telling us not to go back. Then why, there's something that's going on with that. Maybe these people that so-called that the government doesn't have I guess like a treaty or whatnot. But it's interesting to think that all these rockets that they've been using only one-way systems. They're not reusing the rockets until like Elon Musk did it. But yeah, for me, I don't believe that it's all satellites being launched up there. There's something else going on.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the weird part, right? When you start thinking about it just in terms of like the larger concept here. And it is right? Like a tinfoil Timothy too. He brought this up a while back. Why are we still using rockets? Like there's so much here, like you just said, that kind of doesn't really make sense of what's still happening. It's like where's our, right? Like where's our flying cars, right? Like sort of that situation, you know what I mean? It's like, come on now. Like we've literally, like everything has come, like an unbelievable amount of technology since like the Saturn V rocket, but we're still kind of using Saturn V rockets, aren't we? That's just weird, man. I don't know, but you're right. There's definitely like something going on up there that they're not telling us for sure. And the question becomes what? Oddly enough, I think I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest, like at all, if there was a base on the moon. I wouldn't be shocked. Like if they had maybe found a way to kind of hide it maybe off to the side, right between where it's like kind of the dark side, the light side of the moon sort of situation. and maybe hid it behind something, because they could the lunar reconnaissance orbiter, they could just scrub those images and just hide it from us, so that wouldn't shock me at all. But then right, but how long have they been up there? There's a ton of questions that kind of follow after that.
Yeah. There's been a lot of conspiracy saying that the Germans been up there for a while. They had the anti-gravity machines, that they've always had, the UFOs, let's just say. But for us, it would be, anti-gravity technology, with the Glock or whatever they were doing. No one really knows, precisely what the U.S. government got, with paperclip and stuff. But yeah, for me, it's like with the Werner von Braun, he got with Disney too. That's where when he split with NASA, he got with Disney. And Disney is he's a multi-billionaire. Back then, it's still the equal amount compared, like the 50s, 60s and stuff like that. But yeah, and then you have all those multi-millionaires and leaders meeting out in over in California. That's where you have, there's old pictures of all these people meeting there. Even with Werner von Braun, he was there, talking with these people. I mean, there's just too many. There's just too many. I would say, I don't know if it's leaked information or if it's just given out. You know what I mean? Where people are, what they call whistleblowers or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, there's too much evidence that I believe that they got. There's something else. Is that what they call, the breakaway civilization or whatnot? But I don't know. And then now the United States, with Trump trying to do with the Space Force. And that's always been, when the time of all that stuff was happening in the 40s, the only reason why the Navy was, highly involved with that is because, at the time, I think it was the man that was running all the, the top general or the admiral at the time, of all the brass. It was a Navy personnel. And that's why, some of that is, but even, considering ships, and if you consider ship like, you're selling the ocean, but you're selling the cosmos, it's, you kind of have to integrate, the Navy or the Air Force. But yeah, the Navy's got some, so we got some pretty deep secrets too, so who knows nowadays. It just, for me though, from years ago, I think it's still, and if it's been going on, and they're still creating and maybe updating some of these spaceships that they need to, with all these rockets that we're sending out. And again, and what's interesting too is also, if you think about that these countries that have a space program and all their symbolism with the vector, the whole symbolism with their vector, anything that's looked like that's got a space program, they all have that. So that's kind of a weird, thing that why would they all have it? That's kind of weird. What they wouldn't, step away from it a little bit, you would think, if they have their own space program. But yeah, it's, I look at those those that tie in together where, it seems to be more evidence that's correct for me.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think even the most reasonable person would say there's some shenanigans going on in space. But then I think that the problem is that how deep are those shenanigans? I got an article here, by the way. It says, this is from ancientcode.com. Secret space program whistleblower claims humans are on Mars since the 70s. Do you think it goes that deep? Do you think we actually have people on Mars now? Or do you think that's people wanting clickbait stuff?
And I've heard those stories too with like the other guy that, but that story before this, that one guy that's coming out with, I can't remember his name now, but he claims that he was on Mars, he fought wars on there.
Randy Kramer.
Yeah.
Randy Kramer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There was a person that's even before some of these guys were, he was a military, I don't know if he was, I was like, he was a not top military guy, but like as a warrior, like a SEAL or, black ops. But yeah, he was claiming that there was a war on Mars. That story's kind of an older one too, that 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 kind of like they hit the scenes in the UFO scenes, years ago, like 70s or 80s. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I don't know if you could say that yet. I mean, I don't. Well, but to think about that too, though. Remember, you also have to think that those cleaning things on those those rovers that we have up there. That looks like even the shadow looks like a guy in a spacesuit. That it was kind of leaning in and cleaning these rovers that are on Mars. So who knows? I mean, you can never say no, because even if the Germans had anti-gravity, they would have the ability to do space travel somewhat. So if they can get to the moon, who knows? You never know.
Yeah, same, exactly, and that's the deal. What Kelly's talking about, if you guys remember, some of these dust storms on Mars had completely covered the solar panels of the rovers, which means they'd be dead in the water, right? But then, for whatever reason, miraculously, the next day or two, it's all cleaned off. Like, literally, there's not a speck of dust on these things. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen. And so, like who knows what's really happening up there? And would they tell us? I think that's the thing, right? With like the FOIA document from, John Greenwald's a great dude. He's doing God's work, all that stuff, trying to get answers through the government. But still, they play dirty games with him too. And so we got a denial, right? No moon base, no war with Russia, the Soviet Union on the moon, right? I mean, that's the type of thing. Like, I'm not sure if you were listening since the beginning, but yeah, I don't know, man. Like here we are, just trying to figure shit out, as always, right? As always. Did you catch what Jennifer was saying about the ritual stuff? What do you think about that? Do you think that maybe space is maybe an altar of sorts, like Night Stalker suggested, and we're trying to reach out to, who knows, man, Vishnu or Osiris or whatever it is?
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I didn't catch what Jennifer said because I kind of came in late. But what you guys were talking about, yes, maybe, and it was just like what Rohan was saying. That this shit for me, like if these people are actually doing this shit, and they're claiming through any kind of religion that shit is some, it's the devil's work or whatnot. But like, why is NASA doing ancient fucking rituals?
Exactly.
Why are they
word
to fucking God, like the black cube of Saturn, all that shit is like, why in the fuck are you guys doing some weird shit like that when you're telling us that here on like that is some like they used to burn women to the stake for that shit.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't. For me, I'm like, so it does it really? That's what I'm saying. When I was looking into, I've talked about this before, where I'm getting into more now into some of the, what they call magic books or whatnot. Because I mean, even in the ancient, all through like even the Anunnaki, Sumerian writings, even in the Bible, if you want to go biblical again, everybody talks about like witches or some witchcraft or wizards. They got even stories about wizards. And it's even Sumerian writing. They talk about, they called it like the women. They had the power of what they call Sakor, and it's somewhat of like healing or like some kind of a magical spells. It's weird, you know what I'm saying? And these are 10,000 year old tablets and shit. So it has to have some kind of meaning, or it's goddamn real, because why would they be doing some shit like that? Summoning some weird shit or praying to some kind of weird god up there, or species. You know what I mean? Something that they're claiming that's more intelligent, got more, whatever. But why are they doing it? That's just mind blowing to me.
Yeah, and like Rohan was saying just before you hopped in here, like either they're like off the rails and doing just some ridiculous shit that makes no sense, or holy shit, what's really going on here? And I think that's the more terrifying part, is if they're trying to summon something, right? They're trying to contact something. Is this how first contact works? We're like, hey, by the way, let's reach out to Osiris in the night sky.
You know what?
Right?
This is why I often say it's big boy pants time. The world's hit that point. Do you know what I mean? And I mean it. I mean it in this way as well, because I often say it more like it's time to get responsible and treat people right and be a better human being for the species. But I also mean this shit as well. Do you know what I mean? It's getting hardcore. You know what I'm saying? We've got to face facts on shit, because it's like I heard a lovely quote from David Icke. I don't know where it came from, or it's what it is, but he says you can avoid the consequences. You can't avoid the consequences of reality, can you? You can avoid reality as long as you like, but the consequences are always going to be there, aren't there? So if there's any possibility, it's like with the UFO stuff, if 5% of it can't be explained, then that's really crazy, because there's so much of it. And it's the same with the magic and the ritual stuff. They're doing it a bit too fucking much for the bit of nothing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be something, or she won't repeatedly do it constantly with every single thing you fucking do.
Yeah. And it's not even, you know, like with the Sumerian, okay, when you guys people were talking about like jump gates or like you walking through a portal, okay, for the whole thing of the Tower of Babel, right? That whole thing when they were trying to reach God, okay, what it was in Sumerian writing, it's the exact same thing. Like, okay, from all these stories that are inside these biblical books, right? It's actually in Sumerian clay tablets before that. And in there, it talks about, like, you know, the whole reason why the Tower of Babel, which was Enki's son, which is Marduk, he wanted a jump gate, or more or less, but they call it something else. It's like they say it's a portal, or more or less something like from heaven to earth. Now, earth, or key, which was earth, it was actually and heaven was Nibiru. So he was trying to actually build another, like a portal or something like a jump gate, you know, that you could walk through, like, you know, like the TV show that they have where you walk through and you're on the other planet.
SG-1, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they had like a couple on the planet Earth, and there was only like those ones were the only ones that would be operational. But Marduk wanted to create his own, and they had to shut that shit down. That's where the whole, you know, some of they call like the Pyramid Wars start or whatever. But yeah, that's some of that. And again, that's, like I said, this is in writings that's, you know, thousands of years old. And it's crazy. They talk about, like, you know, that's where they were trying to reach heaven, but it actually was a jump gate. And it's just worded a little differently within the Sumerian.
Yeah. Makes total sense. That does to me, especially. It makes sense with I hate to say it, but it makes sense with the search for weapons of mass destruction as well. And Saddam Hussein, because I reckon they're the Stargate, right? And I reckon he kept switching it. I think he kept switching it between moving it to Syria and then moving it back again, playing a cat and mouse game. And I think because he also found, was it that ancient city of the mythical city of thought to not be real, and it's supposed to have found the grave of Gilgamesh. Right, and then it's immediately after they're going in, trying to get Saddam. And if you read those stories, read the Epic of Gilgamesh, read the Enumeralis, you read that other main one as well, you come to realize that Gilgamesh, technically he should be 1/3 alien or 1/3 not human. So of course, if you find his grave, you're going to want his DNA, aren't you?
Oh yeah, they have found the city of Ur, you know, and it's an ancient city. Well, actually, it's all in Iraq. All that stuff was in Iraq. But yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Saddam Hussein, and sorry, I get to my point. Sorry to cut you off. So the thing is, I think the weapons of mass destruction was that because I think the idea was portals are real, and you do get natural stargates and stuff, and because there was stuff going on, some cosmic stuff, some radiation stuff, or whatever, you know, traveling through certain regions of space. I think there was like a deal that everybody's not going to use any portals for a while we go through some energetic area. But Saddam Hussein's a loose cannon, and he's found one. So they needed to go and get it to make sure he didn't try and freaking use it, messing around with it, because apparently it would have been really catastrophic if you'd have used portals during that time. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think that's what the deal was. And I'd heard, it's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but I heard that's what a lot of this time-traveling aliens coming from the future is about, because you've got two timelines. One of them's trying to make sure the cataclysm happens, because that end up justifying their existence. That's all the elites. And then there's another set that are like, that's us. that ended up surviving that they didn't know about. So that's where the Yellow Book thing comes from, and the exchange of technology and stuff. And it's, it gets funky. But like I say, I watched the remote view stuff with the Farsight Institute, and they remote viewed Operation High Jump with Admiral Byrd. Right. In fact, I did a show on it to try to do a trial podcast. Right. And Admiral Byrd, I'll tell you the conclusion of that shit, man. Antarctica. Admiral Byrd remote viewed that shit. They remote viewed Admiral Byrd, and they made a deal. They made a deal with aliens, Nazis, aliens. They did have the high technology. He did get his ass kicked. They did have UFOs under the water, but it was to scare the Americans into engaging in some kind of negotiation so they could make legal agreements. And that took these aliens from being invaders to being invited here through legal agreements through the Grady Treaty. And that's why we made that technology exchange. Give us some UFOs and we'll let you take people. And that's an amazing, we've got it sold short big time. And now you're in bed with these guys, and any positive aliens can't technically remove them because we've agreed to let them, we've made a deal. But it's null and void, isn't it? Because you haven't told the rest of us. But do you know what I'm saying? That's why it makes it all really freaking complicated.
Yeah, real quick, get back with Saddam Hussein. Actually, an interesting thing was that people didn't know. I don't know if someone else has seen that or researched it, but yeah, he also claimed that he was the reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar, which why he even rebuilt the ziggurat. He rebuilt that ziggurat, the Nineveh. Great ziggurat.
Nineveh, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Nineveh. Well, no, it was a ziggurat that he had. Nineveh was it's the biggest city that was in upper northern Iraq, right? That's over by I can't remember the name of the city, but yeah, no, the ziggurat is what he rebuilt. The ziggurat of Nebuchadnezzar. He rebuilt that. It was like in shambles, like it was all the clay things. But yeah, he rebuilt it, and he was even claiming he was the reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar. And and those stories about Nebuchadnezzar back then too was pretty incredible. Where he's claimed that he was like a demigod, that's like a half breeder or whatnot. But yeah, and why would we, when we started that war, because I was part of that, but our ground forces, a lot of Marines that I talked with, they were kind of wondering why they were a lot of them were sent to go secure some of these museums, and not just to secure them for history purposes, but yeah, they took a lot of these ancient artifacts from out of those museums.
Yeah, and
they did.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say they did, and many people have wrote to Zachariah Stitching before and said, "Oh, where's the tablet for that certain bit that you translated?" And he'll just say, "Oh, they're in the." I've heard it say, "Oh, they're in the books," or whatever. Perhaps referring to, well, I've translated it, but where are those tablets? Why aren't those tablets are stolen antiquities? They looted antiquities during the war. They need returning. So why have they been taken? Do you know what I'm saying? I bet there's some funky stuff in there, because that's a big deal to steal antiquities of another nation. You know what I mean? We all know. And I think you made a great point, Kelly, as well about this maybe satellites and stuff like that, because you can track. There's a website that shows you where they all are, tracks them. It's ludicrous. It's like it looks like an electron cloud. Like the planet's completely covered. There's loads. So it don't make any sense, does it? It makes no sense. But resupplying makes sense. And I'm pretty sure you have to go and check this out yourself. But I'm pretty sure the Mir space station, when they first put it up, and the stated weight of it in tons, right, was a lot less than the stated weight when they brought it down. So they probably added a load of extra shielding, perhaps radiation shielding. Do you know what I mean? Over time. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Resupplying all the time. And also, I've heard a lot about there's some spots, like we talk about portal spots and weird spots on the planet, especially some spots where you can there's a bit of an anti-gravity phenomenon, and so you can launch large amounts of weight and stuff to help that, to push them up. I don't know if that's true, but like I say, so many launchers, there's been enough launchers. If you forget satellites, and you could perhaps work it out and add up how much payload could you get up there. Probably quite a lot of all the launches there's been. And how many do they don't announce them all, do they? How many has Russia done in history? How many has China done? How many has India done? What about the ESA, the European Space Agency? You know, because they all like, kind of keep quiet and have failures, don't they? Maybe they've got loads of payloads going up that we don't hear about because we think they're rubbish, right?
Oh, yeah. And the military, like for the Navy, I'll give an example. We have actually a lot of islands out in the Pacific. You know, they're desolate. That's like, you know, being like in the middle of the ocean where there ain't nobody seeing shit. You know, so you can probably launch for days and no one even seeing anything. So, yeah, you know, there's places all over this planet, you know, because it's mostly water anyway. So how do we know what's coming and going? You know, that you're not getting anything up there.
That's such a great point. And do you know what I've often wondered as well? Because I looked into Antarctica and I looked at that Piri Reis map, and I remember Admiral Baird saying there's massive areas of land free from ice, and it's even in official reports that there are areas free from ice, but they haven't really studied them. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, if you're going to Antarctica and we keep hearing it's a frozen wasteland, what about these free from ice, permanently free from ice places? Why have we never seen them? I've never seen them on camera. I've never seen a picture. And more to the point, why make bases on ice with snow everywhere when this place is free from ice? Surely it's better to make a base there. And I read that in a report talking about how they haven't really studied the soil there, so they don't really know the biological processes going on. And I'm thinking, that's a no-brainer. Why aren't you studying the free from ice areas? You know, it just seems a bit weird to me. And then I wonder the size of Antarctica then, because Admiral Byrd said it was as big as North America, the free from ice bit. Well, if you look how big Antarctica is, he says it's just the other side of the pole from Middle America. Well, that's where the Wendell Ice Sheet is, where the first base was. So that would make North America just on the east side of Antarctica. I reckon Antarctica is a lot bigger than they say. And also that then gets me thinking, maybe the Earth's a lot bigger than what they say. Maybe there's a lot more land masses out there. So you could have all these secret like mini cities that's just dedicated to launching stuff in space, well far from any flight paths and shipping lanes. We wouldn't know, would we? You know, unless you get all the money, a ton of money, and go and buy ships and spend the rest of your life sailing the world and flying around to places. We would never know.
Yeah, there's I don't know if anybody heard or researched this, but if you guys could go ahead. But there's a guy out there. He has a theory that is called a larger Earth theory, where, like you're saying, you know, there's more land masses that we don't know about, or they're secret. You know, that most people most citizens are not even supposed to go to these land masses, like, for example, the South Pole or the North Pole. I mean, you know, they don't even want, you can't even fly down, you can't take a ship, nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, look at this. Here's a classic example of things that are supposed to be mythological. Remember all these, like, you hear about the Olmecs and these, like, all the mysterious cities of gold and the people of Heber and El Dorado, and you think, hang on a minute, well, when the Spanish went down the Amazon, when Europeans accidentally infected the Amazon with, like, Western illnesses, and the immune systems didn't know them, and it killed a load of people off, because the original writings going down the Amazon, they're talking about, massive cities. We're talking about massive stone structures with wooden stuff built up on top to make cities above, the trees and these gigantic, sophisticated people. And then, of course, our illnesses kill them off. We don't know. Got no idea we've done it. People go back visiting later, and it's decades later, and there's no remnants of these cities because the jungle's overgrown it. They've died off, and they're all hidden. But these cities they were sophisticated people, and they live on. And people argue, well, the soil's not fertile enough to farm for lots and lots of people. It absolutely is. It sits. This topsoil is engineered soil. It's called terra preta. They sell it around the world, and they find it in other places too. And that's all replenishes itself. It filters, I think, oxygen. It's got loads of properties. It's been engineered. It's a recipe that you can make. And make your own, and they sell it around the world, and it's the most fertile soil there is. So you think, hang on a minute, has that been done on purpose? Has that been engineered in loads of places all over the world? Some ancient societies that have died out, and some of them have only died out in like the 16th century. Do you know what I'm saying? So we didn't know about that. That's supposed to all be a theory, and we tin out for all that stuff, and that's only a few hundred years ago. It's true. It's real. And the soil is the legacy. And it's one of the best technologies we've ever had. You know, because the thing about this soil, I need to point out that you don't need to rotate crops with it. You can keep growing the same crops in the same spot. Other farmers or any other type of soil, you have to keep rotating it. You're supposed to, or you don't get nutrients in it, or they don't grow properly. And a lot of mass industrial farming doesn't do that, and that's why our food's crap. With engineered soil, you know, this terra preta, you don't need to rotate the crops. You can just grow whatever. It's always fertile. You know, so you absolutely can feed people, and that's not long ago. Completely not known thing. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, secrets, massive secrets are easy to keep, and that's not even a secret, that example.
Yeah, that's known. Yeah, there's actually one plant that I know of that can keep growing in the same spot without having to rotate it, and that's hemp.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
It's true, because you don't have to. The plant actually oxygenizes the ground. It actually, you know, it kind of it can be grown anywhere, deserts and anywhere. Yeah. And so, yeah, hemp. You know, actually, they're saying now the scientists. There was a scientist that they were wanted to plant. They're planting hemp plants, just regular industrial hemp though, not like marijuana, but industrial hemp. Were around like Fukushima, and you know, were over in Russia was that. You know,
yeah, Chernobyl. Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, because the vibration, the frequency vibration off the plant that it gives actually goes against the radiation frequency that is, you know, that nuclear waste gives out. So it's pretty interesting too. Yeah, hemp. Yeah. I did stories and papers on that shit in school. But yeah, I've always said that will save the planet.
Yeah, it will. Hemp's got so many uses, and I've seen that. In fact, I've seen a documentary about Chernobyl. All the life around Chernobyl is thriving. The animals are back. Do you know what I'm saying? It's thriving. You're right. They put hemp all around it, loads of it, and they did the same with Fukushima with fungus. Fungi. I mean, fungus is another one. I'm just thinking of these jungles. If you had a combination of terra preta and hemp and rhizomorphic mushrooms, because what rhizomorphic mushrooms do, they do a similar job. You can't really use the mushroom to build things like you could with hemp, but what that does is a very similar thing to what you're talking about with hemp, except instead of vibration, it chemically does it. It goes into the soil with certain types of mushrooms, and basically all of the fiber tips of the mycelium under the soil, they're all an individual chemistry lab. And what they're doing is looking for toxic things and looking for ways to add it to other chemicals to neutralize toxicity, to leave a fertile lens of soil. So other things will grow. It'll attract animals there to come and eat that area, and then the spores and mushrooms get spread around. So their job is to like eat minerals and change chemistry to make it all fertile. So if you can do that with hemp and do that with mushrooms and got your terra preta, then you've got really fertile soil. It's getting rid of toxins. It's making it all nice. It's regrowing itself, and you've got all that hemp to build materials with, make clothes, use as a fuel source. You know, do whatever you want.
Hey guys,
exactly.
I got to get going to take the dog out. You guys are on fire. You want to just stay? I'll go walk the dog and I'll come back, and you guys want to keep trucking? Jay's going to get in here too.
I think we can do it. Yeah, I think we can do it. Get Jay in.
You guys okay with that? I'm going to step away. I got to take the dog out. But okay, yeah, you guys are on fire. Here's Jay. Jay's in here with you. Hey guys, this is the Troubled Minds. We're here with Kelly, Rohan, and Jay in New York. We're talking about the secret space program and where all those places, where all of it sort of leads. There's a ton of theories here and a ton of different things, and you see where these conversations go. So I'm going to step away for just a little bit. I'm going to go run the dog around the block because she's freaking out, losing her damn mind, but you guys carry on. Go right ahead. You guys are slaying it. Absolutely slaying it. Let's get Jay on, make sure he's good. You there, Jay?
I think so.
Welcome. Yep. All right, I'm stepping out. It's all you guys. Be right back.
All right, Rowan and Kelly, continue on. I don't want to interrupt.
That's kind of like what I was just saying. You know, I've seen the whole thing about mushrooms too. It's actually mushrooms are going to be a major thing going against all this GMO crops that are going on. There's like a guy who's actually got a patent on some of those on a different type of mushrooms where, you know, because GMO, all these companies want to, you know, try to, you know, control crops. If you can control the crops and food, you know, source that, you know, you can control, people. It's the same thing with water and whatnot. But yeah, I've seen the same type stuff for mushrooms.
Yeah. Well, did you? The interesting thing about this, and I mean, it leads to something else that's a big exciting thing as well. But with the Fukushima mushrooms, I mentioned that because there's a certain type of mushroom that you talk about the hemp absorbed with the radiation. There's a certain type of mushroom that Russian nuclear reactors they used to find a mold growing inside. Then they're hermetically sealed, so it's not come from the outside. So every now and again, they have to scrub this mold, this certain type of fungi. Okay, but that's spontaneously appearing inside reactors, right? So, but they discovered this. It absorbs radiation, it eats it, ionizing radiation. So you get a type of fungus that they're putting near the Fukushima before they're flushing the water out to the sea. They're passing it through this fungi that grows inside reactors, and it likes ionizing radiation, and it can suck in 10,000 times more than anything else known in nature. So it just holds it. It just holds it. It can drop. It can take fallout. So do you know what I mean? It can clean up nuclear, like not nuclear fallout. You know what I'm saying? It can clean up radioactive ionizing fallout. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so it's like, well, I mean, this stuff is like really, really useful. And we're using nature as a technology, aren't we? Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
What did you got any thoughts on this? On this, Jay? Because this is, I know it goes in lots of directions, and we're talking about space and that, but it brings us a lot of places and shows us, I think, that there is things you wouldn't think, isn't it? So, what have you got any thoughts on this moon harvest thing and the space of what? I mean,
Christ, we're into fungus eating the nuclear waste out of Fukushima Daiichi now. I mean, that's like 400,000 metric tons of water a day they're pumping out of the ocean into that thing. I mean, I'm glad they're doing it through fungus,
Yeah, doing something. But, yeah,
if you're going to build a bunker, I recommend you put a layer of that on top of it.
That's what I'm thinking. That's,
If there's things out there, I mean, it's just... That's a really interesting new one. I mean, because I actually watch NHK World, which is the Japanese version of like headline news and PBS all thrown in a blender.
Right.
And I haven't heard that before.
Well, I got that. Well, I got that because of are you familiar with Paul Stamets?
Maybe, but I'm horrible with names, Ron. That's one of the reasons why when I listen to you guys talk.
Okay. Paul Stamets is basically a mushroom guy. He's into mushrooms. He tells people how great mushrooms are. They're really fascinating. And when YouTube have made a version of Star Trek called Star Trek Discovery, it's actually pretty good. And there's a guy in it called Paul Stamets, and it's based on the mushroom guy because their premise is they've got this special Star Trek spaceship with a special engine that can just blink to another place. It can just instantly go to another place, right? Anywhere. Because what they're doing is they're going into like subspace, and they've discovered a kind of network, like loads of wormholes, that's like mushroom mycelium, like an ethereal one. And they use this. They've got this creature that can naturally traverse them. So they kind of use it and piggyback off of it to take the ship with it, sort of thing. But it's based on this mushroom guy, Paul Stamets, and it was through him I was discovering about rhizomorphic mushrooms and all this stuff. So I just thought I'd give him a big up there because I'm big into him. I got a big thick book from him, and it tells you it's called Growing Gourmet and Medicinal Mushrooms. It's massive, but it tells you everything, and it's brilliant. The mushroom kingdom, like I say, it turns out, if you spread the Mars atmosphere with mushroom spores, and then come back in like a million years, you'll find loads of fertile lenses of soil where it will eat all the rocks and distribute the minerals into the ground. So over time, do you know what I mean? It would like terraform planets, and they can survive. Mushroom spores can survive re-entry. They can end up in atmospheres, get caught on comets, and end up on other planets, survive re-entry, and start making the land fertile. Yeah, millions of years. They've got natural space travel. It just takes a long time. They can survive on ultraviolet radiation.
We actually built a room in the barn to help decompose the mushrooms or decompose the cattle poop. But what they did was mushrooms, and come to find out they were the really cool mushrooms that these people were growing, and they kind of conned me into building a room for them. But when you would go in there and they would ask you, you know, she would run down there every morning first thing and, you know, come back with her little basket of mushrooms and stuff like that. And one day we're there doing the carpentry work, and they always asked us if they run the rototiller for a little while because they were behind because of the rain, or go out there and help them harvest because they were behind, or, you know, things were riper faster. And one day he asked us if we would muck out the cow manure out of the back of the barn and take it to the compost heap. And it was like, yeah, sure. I'm not proud. I've slung poo before. But there was like an unbelievable, I don't know what to call it, almost like a vein system in the manure of mushroom roots. Like they were everywhere.
Like cobwebs.
Exactly. Like a spider got in there, and an orb weaver got in there and just laid down every millimeter of soil, had layers and layers in it. And by the way, if anybody ever has to do it, it really doesn't smell that bad unless you're working at a commercial farm where they feed them silage. If they're eating grass, it's not that bad. Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff. And like I say, that mycelium, it has to grow in darkness. That's why it's on the ground. So, do you know what I mean? Yeah, you're not even limited to like light. Do you know what I'm saying? You only need the tiniest bit of light.
When we built the room, we took unbelievable care to make sure that when you close the door in that room, there's no light. There was nothing in there. I mean, light-wise. I mean, and it was pretty good size, you know.
Yeah, that's like the fruiting stage. Yeah, they got to have that darkness for the mycelium network to really establish and get good. That's why I had so much of it if you made it dark. And then when it starts getting, once that's strong, once it starts seeing a bit of light, that's when the fruiting bodies will start coming up. So there might be moons and places and things that's like got mycelium under the ground, and if it just starts getting a bit more light or the conditions, you start getting mushrooms. But the reason I bring this mushroom link up as well is because when you take I'm not taking them, but when people talk about taking psilocybin mushrooms and psilocin in the system, that's the compound, they're getting an experience where the mushroom's talking to them like it's borrowed the nervous system. And apparently Terence McKenna said they talk like this. They go like, we have been denizens of this planet for 1.2 million years. We are from the Y23 sector. And they talk like aliens, and you see visionary things of like alien machines orbiting planets. And these spores might have come from other places. And psychedelic mushrooms have got a phosphorus group that's completely unique to only psychedelic mushrooms. There's nothing else like it on the planet. So they're the number one candidate for aliens. Do you know what I'm saying? And when you eat them, they like hijack your nervous system and talk to you and tell you like where they've been. Do you know what I'm saying?
How to build a CERN collider.
Yeah, or whatever. That's why I mentioned earlier, they're using psychedelics, meditation, near-death experiences, meditation masters monitoring the brainwaves to figure out how to do it, medically induced near-death experiences to do this stuff, and they're doing magical rituals. You know what I'm saying? This looks like this is the way to do it. It looks like metaphysics is the way to do it. And studying the material world is just a material world. You got to incorporate that Eastern stuff, the philosophy and the magic and that. It looks like that to me. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, that could be a very, the psilocybin. That's, believe me, I've taken that a few times, and I've had some pretty crazy conversations with things that were not probably of this planet, or seeing things that are, not over things like melting walls or anything shit like that.
Yeah. A coherent experience, like.
Yeah, it was. I believe me, I have had some pretty crazy, and it could be, it could be like where it does open up with, the pineal gland, so it can, secrete all that juice in there. So it could be like a more or less like an outer body, or even like a jump gate for the mind. You could.
Oh, you said it. Yeah.
The fungus is getting the toxins out of your third eye, so it can't work, and then it's actually letting your third eye work until the
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's like because that's what these psychedelics do. They bash molecules out of the way, don't they? And go, hey, I want that receptor site. Boom, and they plug in, don't they?
Wow, crazy ways these conversations go.
It is. Well, that's the thing about. Well, back to portals again. See how this works? Because I love that, Kelly. You've said that maybe the brain's a portal, and that's exactly what I think the pineal gland is our little Stargate, right? And it's got water in it, structured water. And I think what's happening is that when these things get triggered with the right molecules, because we've got receptor sites for them, specifically to do, they're fine. Your body knows about them. Your body's just informing you, yes, I'm aware of this, I've seen this before, there we go. It's just letting you know when you're having these experiences. And so it's primed for them. And so to me, it seems like, I think what happens is, because I think you've got structured water in your brain, right, in your pineal gland, okay, and I think what happens is, because it's got rods and cones in there like the iris, that means it can see and it can hear through a vibration. So that means that's why they call it the third eye. And I think what happens is the structured water kind of flips inside out, so now it's kind of goes from space-time that we're in to time-space. And I think that's why you're able to have these visionary experiences, but they can also span across time and space. Like you say, it's almost like an out-of-body experience, but while you're still here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you're two places at once, aren't you?
Yeah, and the thing about it is, too, is like what we were kind of talking about yesterday with DNA with the animals and plants. It's kind of what I was kind of getting to yesterday, but didn't have time to really get into that. But yeah, so it's like, it's just like that, we're able to, just like you're saying about how the body has receptors, it's just like cannabis. We have CDB receptors where it's like these plants are made for humans. And then when you tap into that, some people would call it the hall or whatever, but yeah, you're tapping into it. So it's, it's enhancing that.
Yeah, you make a great point there. That you make such a great point about that. They seem to be designed for us. But we've grown up with them. They've grown up with us. Maybe they've adapted to be good for us and appealing to us, so that we'll eat them, because that's how they're going to propagate. Yeah. Mushrooms. Look how unthreatening a mushroom is. It's so not threatening. I mean, some of them that are poisonous look threatening because they're poisonous, but the psychedelic ones, they're so non-threatening. Yeah. So it's because it's within their interest for somebody to eat them, so it can borrow your nervous system for a bit and get propagated. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's almost like that's what it's about.
And puke them out all over the ground, and now you got a spot where a whole bunch more will grow, given the right condition, whether it be now or 20 years or 100 years from now.
Yeah, but. Oh, you better. That was fast. You're getting fitter.
I used to be fast. Now I'm just old.
This is a fascinating conversation, though.
Yeah, Tam says in the chat, I would rather trust fungus than the government. And okay, I've decided, and you guys have convinced me. I'm going to take mushrooms and try to connect with the aliens and cosmos and get some answers. There it is.
Live stream it.
Live stream.
Let us know how it works out. You go first.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's the old joke, isn't it? Haunted House by Hugo First.
There you go. You go first. Yeah, I don't know where we're at, but carry on, gentlemen. If you're having a good time, I'm having a good time.
Well, gentlemen, I'm going to have to leave you, but it was a good chat tonight.
There it is.
And as always, so, it was...
as
always,
have man.
All right, have a good evening.
You're the best, Kelly.
Good night, Kelly.
Thanks for hanging out with us, man. Thanks for holding it down. Good stuff. All right, so we got Rohan here. Kelly's taking off. We got Jay in New York, and I'm Michael Strange, and we're just hanging out talking about, I don't even know. I guess we got to hallucinogens and aliens. Is that where it went?
We got to, yeah. We kind of went to brain portals. We kind of went to because we kind of linked in with this idea that contacting alien, all the magic and the psychedelics and all the ritual. It's almost like, well, that's the way you do it. Metaphysics is the way you deal with this stuff, and all the physical world stuff. It's kind of been they're giving. It's like they're giving us just the physical stuff, and all the Eastern science. It's like what I'm getting to, anyways. It's almost like they're selling the general public just the Western science, or ignore the Eastern science. But then they're going and using them both. Do you know what I'm saying? It seems like the Western science is really important. So because I mean, the Eastern stuff's looking at an understanding of consciousness and time, whereas their understanding in the West just the physical matter. Do you know what I mean? You got to do all of it, haven't you? So it's segued into saying, well, maybe the magical rituals and the psychedelics and all the metaphysical stuff. That's where the real goods are. That's where you really get to communicate and connect with this construct of space or whatever it is, or these aliens or these old ones or whatever they are. Maybe, we should be learning this stuff. And then perhaps our pineal gland is a stargate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Like I said, crazy. We maybe began with Stargates, and now we're ending with Stargates. Good stuff. As you guys know, right? This conversation continues. If you haven't joined the Discord, jump in the Discord. A lot of these same folks are going to be in the after show chat, which is called right now. What are we calling it? On the level. There's a conspiracy right there. But let's wrap this up, Jay. Good shit, guys. Thanks for holding it down. Unless you got further thoughts, Jay. I don't want to cut you off. I know you were on here the shortest amount of time.
No, it's okay. It's late and it's great and it's it's we're done. It's over.
Bump it to the next thing.
I mean, it's just yesterday's went on for quite some time. I took 2 naps.
Nice.
Came back.
Hell yeah.
But that's quite a while. But you're awfully peppy.
Hell yeah.
It's really 100 years we could talk about these things because that's the way the conversations flow when we talk about whatever. I was excited. I had things that I wanted to bring up about the moon and everything else like that, but not. Now we're on to 15 subjects past that, and it's just
mushrooms and aliens.
What I wanted to jump back about that Gary McKinnon thing with the over pilot, off-world officers, because I don't know. You've heard of Project Camelot, right? I just wanted to quickly mention this. So that was Kerry Cassidy and Bill Ryan that started that, wasn't it? But Bill Ryan came into that, met her. When just before they met up, he was investigating Project Serpo. That was supposed to be about an alien exchange program. Do you know what I mean? But with reptile-like beings, that's why it's called Serpo. So I wondered if you'd heard of that. So I throw that one in because it was supposed to be a project that you could, conspiracy that you could investigate that's supposed to have really happened. And that's perhaps what Gary McKinnon saw. He saw the list of officers of Project Serpo. That's what for
non-terrestrial officers weren't Americans or whatever on another planet. They were people from another planet on Earth.
Yep.
Would be the non-terrestrial officers.
Yeah. No. Well, he found a list of officers that weren't listed anywhere. That had ranks as well, like Earth names. Do you know what I mean? So it makes it look like there was an exchange program that went on. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I know the story. X amount of people were traded for X amount of aliens and stuff like that, and we're working together and have been for a while.
Yeah, we did.
All of that.
Show on that with Ash back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember that show. But I look at all that. If it's a hoax and we're not really on the moon and we're not really in space, I've been to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the museum in the annex that they have there. If all that's a hoax, why spend all that money? Some of those things you can actually climb in and sit in and stuff like that. It's. If you wanted to make it look that real, you could probably spend a whole lot less money.
Yeah,
if you didn't really go.
I think regarding the moon mission and did we go or did we not go? I think we went. I think it just wasn't like they told us. I think they withheld some things, or maybe the first time we went it was televised, but then afterward we went and kind of did that. So it was like a real thing afterward. The whole televised bit may have been phony. I don't know. That makes sense.
Right. How are they getting those high resolution pictures and stuff like that back for the TV of the guy hitting the golf ball?
Yeah, that's what we're told.
I could see them staging a picture of that, the same way that they do with, the Himojima or Himojima, where they raise the flag up and stuff like that. The original picture was really lame. And then they staged it again. The same thing they did with 9/11 when they raised the flag and stuff like that. The guys were down there and they pulled the flag off the building and they found it and they were raising it back up just to do a thing. But then the photo op guys came and they did it the second time just to make it look better. You know, I mean, those are true. I mean, those are absolutely true stories. You know, I mean, they that really happened. You know, they just.
I think you're on something the moon thing with the staging the initial bit, because I'd like to say I think you're going to stage the first time, definitely. You're not going to show the live thing in case you screw up.
Yeah,
and then it'll show
two dozen aliens standing on the crater.
Yeah.
Going, what are these little guys doing down there?
yeah, exactly.
Like, wait. They didn't tell us about this shit.
I did not sign up for this.
That was not part of the deal that you guys were actually going to come up here and land one from Earth. You got to use the portal.
Right, exactly. You guys are doing it all wrong. All wrong.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be funny if the aliens just waited? Wouldn't it be funny if they landed and those aliens waiting and they went, like, what are you doing? Use a portal, you morons. Now go on, clear off.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't come back unless you do it the right way. Yeah.
Take your garbage with you.
Right, exactly. By the way, Tam says, she'll live stream it and we'll go first because apparently her balls are bigger than you guys. There you go.
Fine,
Wow. That would actually, I would love to talk to her if she was tripping on shrooms.
Okay, all right.
She comes up with great stuff sober.
Yeah, hell yeah. Let's wind this up, gentlemen. We got Jennifer says this. Maybe the astronauts were on mushrooms doing a ritual and believed they were on the moon having an experience, but were simply on site with Kubrick. There you go.
Oh, I like that.
There's another one. All right, let's wrap this up. As you guys know, this conversation continues. We've got this little channel called On the Level, which is a bad joke, by the way. We're not Masons, and we're gonna be there afterwards. So I took the dog for a walk, so I don't even have to now. I'm gonna just do our thing, and yeah. So let's finish this, Jay. Let's do the outro, and we'll continue the conversation in the On the Level when we finish up here. Let's do it. You got music in 3, 2, 1. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, nuts. I'm dropping the ball, Mike.
That's all right.
There it is.
That's all right.
There it is. I found it. You know what your problem is? You're smart. You're too smart. You overthink because your mind moves at 1,000,000 miles a minute. You're sad because you're not fooled by the world like everyone else. You didn't get along with most people because they don't look at things the way that you do. You think you're dumb because you're smart enough to know that you don't know everything. Your problem is you're too smart, and that's no problem at all.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Great stuff.
I fumbled through that one because you caught me off guard. I had to go find it. I wasn't ready.
That's all right. You're allowed. You're allowed. You're allowed to be human, Jay. All right. So as we finish this up, guys, we're here with Rohan. Thanks, Rohan, for cutting in here and being the man, the mighty Rohan, living up to the billing. Thanks, Jay, for hanging in. Thanks for giving me a break to go take the dog for a walk. You guys are amazing. Shout out to Kelly as well for that. And we're done. As we finish, you guys know the drill, right? We're God willing, we'll be back the next day and the next day, which tomorrow is Friday, which means we'll have a news show at 3 p.m. on Twitch, and then hopefully we'll have a nice weekend after that. If you want to hang out with us after this show is done right now, we're going to be in the Discord chat called On the Level, so come hang out. And let's finish. As we say, be sure, be strong, be true. Thanks again for everybody listening. Thanks for all the fantastic calls, all the fantastic, thoughtful chats. And thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. Yep, you can howl. It's time to howl.
Oh, this is when Rohan's going to chirp like a dolphin, right?
Okay. Oh, yeah, he's going to chirp like a dolphin.
I'll try.
That worked.
No, I prefer this.
Alan's better. Thanks a lot, guys. You're all the best. We'll be back tomorrow, and we'll see you in the. It used to be called Shoot the Breeze. Now it's called On the Level. We'll see what it's called tomorrow. Come join the Discord, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Everything's working. Get your ass in here. Take care of yourself so you can take care of others. We'll see you soon.